Part 56. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 552. New Year's Eve is getting closer and closer. It's a sunny day. On the grass next to the basketball court, Xiao Zai shouted, looking for death. With a roar, Lafite raised the wooden sword in his hand. You are the one. Ping ping pong pong. Lafite worked very hard, but as a battleship, Xiaozai was no match for her. He didn't go a few rounds in Xiaozai's hands before he was beheaded by his horse. Suddenly, Lafite and Cushing fell onto the grass. Seeing this scene, Xiaozai put his hands on his hips, feeling proud and thinking that he was really vulnerable. You dare me, you are an incompetent person. The wooden sword wielded by Xiaozai once again struck the shoulder of U-47 who wanted to attack in a sneak attack. Completely unable to resist, U-47 and U-505 were immediately defeated. Amid mutual complaints, they sat on the grass and watched the rest of the battle. Bats are not allowed. In this case, the finger tiger has no lethality. It is natural for Lafite to lose. U-47's weapons are long branches, which are said to be moon sticks, annual swords, and lifelong guns. The branches can be said to be sticks or guns. However, don't say that you have to practice for a lifetime or a month, but not even for an afternoon. In short, the branch in U-47's hand was easily disarmed by Xiaozai, and even the advantage of being 1 inch longer and 1 inch stronger was not used. In comparison, the wooden knife in Xiaozai's hand came from Sugu. Not only is the workmanship exquisite, it's even painted, and a cloth strip is wrapped around the handle. It can be said to be an epic weapon at the very least. She took advantage of the weapon. Xiaozai turned around and said, "You are the only group left. Xiaozai, your rule is over." The bright yellow knitted scarf flutters in the wind, and the fireflies sound disdainfully. She is not usually very skinny, but she is able to persist until now mainly because of her cooperation. In horseback riding, one person rides on the neck of another person. The small house has the best horse in the garrison, Utopia. The white-haired little princess hugged the legs of Xiaozai who was riding on her, and she ran happily on the grass. However, Firefly is riding on trust. As a knight of trust, she is the strongest and invincible at this moment. Come on, defeat Xiaozai. Amethyst Quartz sat on the grass, and the black-backed jackal was her mount. They were the first to lose. First of all, the black-backed jackal was not obedient at all and was not interested in horse riding games. Secondly, they were attacked first, and there was no way they could survive for a minute under the siege of everyone. Shut up. Anyone can say it, but Amethyst Quartz is the worst. Xiaozai scolded her while watching the fireflies' movements. Whether she can successfully defend the championship depends on this time. Firefly, bring your horse over here. Sitting on a stone foundation not far away, Sugu watched the little loli playing on the grass. I won't talk about Xiaozai. She is usually very naughty. She was before and she is now. But I don't understand her fantasy. She is obviously a girl and plays with little Lolita all day long. I remembered that once she put on wearing a tutu skirt, a crown-style headband, and long hair hanging behind her back. She really looks like a little princess, dazzlingly beautiful. This is what a good little princess doesn't do, and she has to be a crazy girl. Sitting next to Sugu was Helena. She said, those who are close to the vermilion are red and those who are close to the ink are black. It's not surprising that Xianxiang is with Xiaozai all day long and plays wildly all day long. Xiaozai, Xianxiang, and Lafite are 3 cheap guests. The day they lose their naughtiness, you have to worry about whether they will encounter problems. They are also girls, not to mention Javelin and Queen. Xiaoxiang Leiden is much better. Even if they are naughty, at least they don't look like this. Suguk Xiao, Xiang, I believe he is working as Firefly's mount. She has no choice but to never refuse Firefly's request. In the sight, Xiaozai and Firefly were fighting fiercely. Counselor Su said, "Helena, who do you think will win?" "Have no idea." Osugu took a deep breath and sighed, "It's better to be a child, carefree and innocent." Helena said, "You are the same, no, you are doing nothing all day long." Sugu asked back, "You know that I have nothing to do again. I saw you in the office in the morning, sleeping on the sofa, sleeping on Lexington's lap pillow. Lexington massaged your forehead, and you raised your head to ask for a kiss. At noon, I saw you and Ruhi whispering together, a wife is worse than a concubine, and a concubine is worse than a thief. By the way, I watched you staring at the flying eagle, and stealing is worse than not being able to steal." Helena's words were extremely sharp. "As an admiral, there's nothing I can do about it." While talking, Sugu couldn't believe it when he thought about his first arrival in this world, suspecting that he was just experiencing the so-called The Truman Show. Truman, the protagonist in that play, has been living in a small town called Darwin Island since he was a child, but it is actually a huge studio. Everyone except himself is an actor in The Truman Show. "I have lived for such a long time and have seen so much that I can't find any clues even if I am skeptical." After hearing the news about the ship girl, and later meeting Kotaku, and seeing him using his ship's uniform to show his unparalleled power, he no longer had any unrealistic thoughts. Rather, it is possible that it is an illusion, coming from the brain's self-righteousness, like a dream. Sugu tilted his head slightly and his eyes fell on the heavy fruit on Helena's chest. However, the feeling was something he had never experienced before. Even his brain couldn't simulate it. So everything is real, so many wedding ships are, and so are so many cute little Lolita. Keenly aware of Sugu's gaze, Helena crossed her arms and said, "I always feel that you are thinking of very bad things, Admiral. No better than a flying eagle, he needs to maintain the gentlemanly demeanor of an admiral in front of the girl. As a wedding ship, Helena can be a little more arrogant." Sugu said, "Helena, talk nonsense, that is the most beautiful thing in the world. Shameless. Coming to this world, leaving home is not a big deal. I am most worried about my parents and brothers, but it has been so long. Whether it is heartless, or accepting reality, after all, people cannot cherish the past forever. Except for occasionally thinking about the past late at night, I feel a little heavy unconsciously. In the past, I was still in a good mood with so many people by my side. Thinking of this, seeing New Year's Eve approaching, it is often the easiest time to miss home at this time." Sugu suddenly said, "Helena, give me a hug." "What did you say?" Helena's tone was cold. "In the past, even if I mustered up the courage, I would immediately borrow the donkey to go downhill and say, 'It's nothing.' Now that he has become shameless," Sugu said, "give me a hug." In annoyance, Helena raised her hand and slapped Sugu's thigh. "No, you scoundrel." With the little loli by his side, he couldn't get any benefits from Helena, so Sugu said, "Stingy." He looked at Helena, who was arranging her long hair that was tousled by the sea breeze. "To be honest, when we first met, I just had delusions about Helena's body and didn't have much emotion. After all, as a man, there is no way to resist the opponent's explosive figure to the end. After finding Kent and spending so much time together, he even gave him a ring. In fact, it is not so much that the feelings are in place, but that it is compensated for the game. Now that we have been together for so long, I really like them. It's just that unlike women, who are emotional creatures, men pay more attention to possession and conquest. It's hard to describe the amount of emotion I have. Anyway, I like and want Helena and will never let her go." Thinking of this, he had a whim and asked, "Helena, if I were not the admiral, would you still like me?" Helena looked at Sugu curiously and said, "Do you want to hear the truth or a lie?" Sugu smiled, "Lies." Helena also burst into laughter. She patted Sugu on the shoulder and said, I like him. No matter what the admiral looks like, I like him. What's the truth? Helena raised her hands and stretched her waist. Her chest and waist formed a fatal arc, and said, if you are not the admiral, if I say you don't like it, what are you going to do? Leave us. She bent down, propped her elbows on her thighs, and held her face in her hands. The foundation of everything is that you are the admiral. You built me up and then I will follow you. If you are not the admiral, of course I will not like you. You asked me to be your secretary ship, and you often arranged for me to go on attacks, so I gradually developed a good impression. Although you always like to touch people, it's just terrible. I'm also very surprised why I liked you in the first place. I mean, abandoning my identity as admiral and relying solely on my charm, will you like me? You're not rich or handsome, so I probably won't like you. After saying that, Helena laughed. It's my turn to ask you, if I wasn't a ship girl, I wouldn't have great power. I wouldn't have a good face. I'm ugly, crooked, and cracked. I have no figure, only body odor. In this case, will the admiral like me? Sugu said, I probably won't like it either. Where is the love that is wholehearted and without any reason? If you are handsome, you will like it. If you are rich, you will like it. If you are gentle and considerate, you will like it. Your own admiral will like it. Anyway, there is always a reason to like it. You should ask your question, Mom and Dad, if I were not your son, would you take care of me? Anyway, it's such a boring question. You are not the admiral, and Helena is not the Helena she is now. Sugu originally just thought of such a question suddenly and asked casually. Hearing Helena's answer at this time, thinking about it, the question was so hypocritical, he laughed. The winter sunshine gradually disappeared, and the battle of the little Lolita on the grass gradually ended. Xiaozai and Xianxiang were lying on the grass. They lost to the combination of Firefly and Trust. This afternoon, Helena leaned on Sugu's shoulder, and Sugu rested his head on Helena's head. The two sat quietly for a while, and suddenly there was a coughing sound. Ahem. Elder sister. Sugu turned around and saw Counterattack standing behind, and then Saratoga standing next to him, holding a red invitation in his hand. Sister-in-law Saratoga read aloud, presenting to Mr. and Mrs. Sugu, we are getting married. It is scheduled to be, brother-in-law, your friend is getting married, and you have been invited. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 553. Sitting on the train, in addition to the sound of clang, 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 clang. Swath distance, I also heard the siren sound of beep clang clang beside the railway. An elderly flight attendant passed by pushing a cart of snacks, and a young flight attendant came to sell a combination of towels, nail clippers, toothbrushes, and toothpaste with excellent absorbency. After closing his eyes and taking a nap, Sugu was not interested in these sales pitches at all, but Fletcher sitting next to him was very interested. Admiral, let's buy some. It's so cheap. Sigsby has always wanted a nice towel. Opening his eyes, Sugu said, can't you see that he is bragging? It's just bragging. Anyone can brag, and you can brag too, I'm sorry. Don't be so afraid of me. He glanced at Fletcher, who looked cautious, and turned his attention to the scenery outside the window, not noticing that his actions had caused Fletcher to misunderstand. Of course, the train tickets were for consecutive rides. Fletcher was sitting by the window and found that the Admiral beside her was facing towards her. She was not in the mood to listen to the sales pitch anymore, her face turned red and she lowered her head. It had been a while since the two of them took the train and left the town hall. The specific reason was that Sugu had received an invitation a few days ago and had no idea about Mu Cheng's wedding. I don't know why I chose this period of time. It would be better on New Year's Day. I remember that many of my classmates and relatives were like this. Thinking about it again, I found that I didn't understand anything about good days and auspicious days, and I didn't understand which day was a good day. They could only take the train. Although Mu Cheng already owned a tutelary mansion, the wedding was not held in the tutelary mansion, but at the other party's home. Although it is also a city close to the seaside, it is a bit far from the tutelary palace. I don't plan to sail there, so I decided to take a train to Fujian City. The journey was a bit long, and when I first received the invitation, I was still a little hesitant and it was difficult to run. Think about it, when you come to this world, you really don't have many friends, and they have helped you a lot in the past. It would be a bit unkind not to attend to such an important matter. There happens to be nothing going on at the garrison. Even if there is, leave it to Lexington and everything will be fine. Thinking of Mu Cheng, the African admiral. There were some minor unpleasantnesses during the initial meeting, and the process was a bit funny. Later, I didn't expect that we could actually become friends. By the time I left the academy, I had lost much contact, but I still had more or less contact. Since the destroyer was built again, I previously said I would not be an admiral, but in the end I still did not resign. From what he said, a lot of time and resources were spent, not only for myself, but also for the cultivation of the college and the Kanyang headquarters. In fact, receiving the invitation reminded me of many of my classmates in a funny way. Normally I don't say a word, but when I get married I'll send you a text message. It's neither going nor going, it's confusing. I also thought of my college classmates. Someone had entered a pyramid scheme and wanted to get me in. He also asked himself to borrow money, saying that he was going to open a company, and all he needed was your 600 yuan. Thinking about it at that time, it was a bit silly to believe it. But in the end, I only lent out 100 yuan. I hadn't graduated from college yet, so I didn't have a penny. Of course, the money will never come back in the end, and I will miss the innocent boy I once was. Give way. There was a shouting sound, and the flight attendant pushing a cart of snacks walked past again. He woke up from his memories. Counselor Su said, "Fletcher, do you want a soda?" "No, Thatcher only likes to drink." "Do you have to bring your sister with you every time you talk?" "Ah. Nothing." In addition to getting the invitation himself, Fletcher also got it. The groom, Mu Cheng, is his friend, and the bride, Li Yao, is Fletcher's former colleague, and they have a good relationship. Mu Cheng is also a Lolita fan. His ship girls include Fletcher Anthony, Blaine, and Cassin Yang. They like Fletcher very much. This is probably the reason why the girl received the invitation. I just didn't expect that the two of them would actually get married, but Li Yao was beautiful and good looking, and most importantly, he was a childhood sweetheart. In addition, it also coincides with that sentence, a man chases a woman across a mountain, and a woman chases a man across a veil. Haha, I understand this sentence very deeply. When I first met everyone, I was still reluctant. The girl's tireless pursuit made it impossible to refuse. I remembered again that before leaving, I had heard Saratoga repeat over and over again, "Brother-in-law, when you go out, you can't take action against Fletcher. She is a destroyer and a girl. Although she looks quite old, she is very young." At that time, I especially wanted to say something. How can a ship girl be old or not? Zeppelin has lived in Zeppelin for many years, just like Bismarck has only appeared for a short time. She is still called Bismarck Sr. It can't be that Fletcher is a sister, just a little older than Sigsby. The girl's figure is much stronger than that of San Juan and Leipzig. Fletcher also has the character of a girl. As a sister who takes care of her younger sister, she has a mature temperament. Her appearance is right, and her age is right too. She should not be called young in any case. Although compared to Richelieu, Washington, Helena, etc., Fletcher has become a real star destroyer. At least for now, the girl is being hung and beaten by these people from any angle. Thinking about sister-in-law Saratoga, who is best at digging holes for people to jump at, she couldn't say what she was thinking. She could only explain over and over again that nothing could possibly happen, and she had no idea about the girl Fletcher. As for the truth, it was hard to tell. However, he is definitely not an animal whose lower body controls the upper body. Admiral, why are you looking at me? Looking at you? I'm looking at the scenery. Huh? Fletcher sat next to Sugu, his face turning redder. The night before she got on the train, she didn't sleep well all night. After getting the invitation, she struggled for a long time before deciding to go. I am tired of running around all day for my sister. As a ship girl, as a girl, I have the idea that I cannot be embarrassed. I stand in front of the fitting mirror at night, always thinking about which dress I should wear. Wearing cotton clothes feels too bulky and not beautiful at all. She usually wears maid uniforms in the governor's mansion, and doesn't seem to have many clothes, not even a decent skirt. It's not easy to buy, and you can't act too deliberately, otherwise you will definitely be laughed at. I'm debating whether to wear a headband or not. It feels unattractive. In fact, I am still very confident in my figure, but I am a bit shorter. Then, none of the several brat-sized sisters is reliable. Sister, I must win the admiral, and we can be kings and hegemons like Xiaozai. You pretend to be afraid of the dark at night, don't care about anything, don't wear anything, and just get under the admiral's quilt. He will definitely not be able to bear it. Sister is just a destroyer and Sullivan poured cold water on it. Ah, I didn't think about it. Don't be so pessimistic. My sister's figure is even more powerful than that of a battleship, and she has a childlike face. What should I say if we are together? I sit on the bench with the admiral at night, lean on the admiral's shoulder, and say, the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. Anyway, sister, you have been seen by the admiral, and you have seen everything. And you are a ship girl, so you have no choice but to marry the admiral. Let's become sister-in-law like Sister Saratoga. I can only complain loudly, Sigsby, Thatcher, Sullivan, you little guys who are selling your sister for glory. Sugu naturally didn't know what Fletcher was thinking, and he certainly wouldn't do anything inappropriate towards the girl. To be honest, in the beginning, besides Fletcher, I wanted to bring some people with me. For example, Bismarck, for example, Saratoga. Especially Xiaozai, young Tirpitz, this is an invincible existence. In the end, after struggling for a long time, I still didn't plan to bring too many people. Fletcher was enough. On the one hand, there is no problem with protecting security. On the one hand, Star Destroyer Fletcher is enough to show off. The legendary destroyer is not a ship that can be built or simply salvaged. I heard that the Mucheng family opened a large company, and there would definitely be many guests. I don't know how many admirals will come over, but that guy still knows a lot of people. For example, my good friend Qin Kai should go. It has been a few months since we last met. Lu Jiansha didn't know. He must have just arrived at the garrison. If something happened, he would definitely have no way to go. However, you can ask the garrison next door to take care of the sea area you are responsible for and spare a few days. A smile appeared on his lips and he spoke to Fletcher smoothly. Fletcher, at first I thought you were going to refuse. Fletcher defended, I don't want to go, Li Yao is my friend. You actually didn't bring your sister with you. It will definitely be noisy for them to get on the train, and it's definitely not good for too many people. Anyway, my sister will definitely be well taken care of in the town hall. You're not here. Aren't you worried that the three of them can't even wash their faces and comb their hair, and then go out with messy hair? Fletcher took care of her sisters to the point of being crazy and had to take care of everything, and then the three sisters refused to listen to her. The girl showed a worried expression. Sigsby and Sullivan can do it themselves. They know everything. As for Thatcher, they don't know. In this case, you are still following behind them. You are worried about this and worry about that. I'm my sister. Well, you are the sister. Well, do you think Sigsby will become like Washington when he grows up? They were just dressed up, and Sigsby told me she didn't want to be a strong woman like Washington. She wanted to be a lady, like Lexington. Her teachers were Lexington, London, Missouri, many. Discussing her sister was Fletcher's favorite thing, and she couldn't stop talking. Compared to Sigsby, Sullivan is more considerate and will help her sister. She will definitely become a well-behaved wife like Xianghe in the future, and she is also a well-behaved little girl now. It's harder for Thatcher. I'm so afraid that she will turn into Quincy. Now, she will eat whatever is given to her, and she won't refuse. She plays around all day long and doesn't pay attention in class. She lies on her stomach, he drools while sleeping on the desk and refuses to listen no matter what he says. He will definitely turn into Quincy, don't do it. Sugu said helplessly, they are ship girls. It is not certain whether they will grow up in the future. Even if they grow up, they will still be in the governor's mansion. You don't have to worry. Fletcher is a super doting sister who plays the role of mother rather than sister. Thinking about threatening several sisters, Fletcher would definitely agree to any request. No, this idea is too evil. Soon after noon, I bought lunch boxes on the train. Fletcher opened his own box and took Sugu's box. Admiral, let me pick out the ginger for you. Sugu doesn't eat ginger, and Fletcher knows it very well. Not only does she take care of her sister, she works as a maid in the governor's mansion, and she got the indoctrination from the counterattack that taking care of the admiral is the top priority in the world. Give it to me without your help. However, Sugu couldn't accept the girl's service with peace of mind. On the other hand, people around him often looked at him strangely, which made people feel a little embarrassed. When the meal is ready, Fletcher's troublesome character emerges and he is uneasy about anything. I heard that the food on the train is very dirty, and rats are running around in the kitchen and no one is taking care of it. As for potatoes, will they also cook sprouted potatoes? They are poisonous. Admiral, don't eat too spicy. It's not good to eat too salty. Well, there must be a lot of message in these dishes. Eating too much message is not good for your health. Sugu complained, instead of living cautiously, worrying that this is unhygienic, and that is unsafe. I don't eat message, and I don't eat salt. I have clear soup and little water every day. If I live like this, even if I can live another year, I won't. Feeling. If you die, everyone will die too, and you won't survive alone. This sentence made Sugu speechless. He changed the subject and said, potato beef tastes good. Fletcher was still complaining, it's so expensive. There's not much beef in the potato beef. Hey, Admiral, do you want beef? I don't like beef. Actually, I don't like beef either, so I'll give you my share. I remember that the Admiral eats all kinds of meat. The same goes for you. Oh, do you think you are my child? Fletcher blushed a little. She looked out the window and said, I have always wanted to take a train. I also wanted to stand on the railway track and take pictures. Think about it. There are beautiful trees on both sides. They are not very high. I am just alone, so tall and covered with little flowers. Sugu really wanted to tell Fletcher how dirty the railway was. In the end, I decided to forget it and was still eating. It would be too much to break the girl's dream. The station announcement rang, and the train stopped halfway. The passengers sitting opposite the two people got off the train, and another middle-aged man got on. The train left again, and not long after, something unexpected happened. Sugu was still resting with his eyes closed, and Fletcher pushed him awake. "Admiral, the person opposite keeps touching my shoes with his shoes, what should I do?" the girl asked softly. After hesitating for a moment, Sugu looked under the table. He immediately raised his foot and stepped heavily on the middle-aged man's foot. The force was not small, and the middle-aged man stood up. "Hey, what are you doing?" Sugu said lightly, "Sorry, I wasn't careful." After saying that, when the middle-aged man sat down, he stepped on him again. "Did you do it on purpose? Do you deserve a beating?" Sugu sneered, "My sister, try it again if you move unruly." "Why am I not behaving properly? Which eye did you see?" This time the kick was very hard. Sugu said, "Two eyes, shut your mouth, I have a good temper, otherwise you can ask the police to come over." The timid middle-aged man walked away, and soon he came with a police officer. Sugu took out his admiral's card and explained the situation. The policeman left, but the other party ran away and never came back. It was a bit regretful, but it was not enough. Afterwards, Sugu lectured Fletcher, "Don't you know how to resist?" The girl said timidly, "Just keep touching my shoes with your shoes, otherwise I will resist, and you are next to me." This kind of people will push themselves to the limit. Next time something like this happens, just slap them in the face. Fletcher nodded, and Sugu found it difficult to see the weak look on the girl's face. The role of the garrison is to protect these elves like ship girls. Having said that, education cannot be lacking. After spending a long time educating, Consultant Su asked, "What should you do if someone touches you?" "Hit him." "What if I touch you?" Fletcher had a troubled expression on his face, lowered his head and twirled his fingers. I don't know." The train continued to run until evening, and the two arrived at their destination, Sujiang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 554. Make arrangements in advance and don't rush to your destination without time. After all, the train may be delayed. Since you have decided to attend the wedding, you can't have any accidents due to small things. We arrived in Sujiang in the evening and got a room in a nice-looking hotel outside the train station. As an admiral and a ship's wife, the room was also a double room, so Sugu didn't have two rooms to show off. However, the clerk who registered me kept giving him strange looks, but he still defended himself and said that this was our sister. However, the other party looked suspicious. To be honest, even Sugu himself didn't believe such an excuse. Fletcher does not have a typical Western appearance, it would be better to say he is of mixed race. An important point is, how could such a beautiful sister have a brother who is not handsome enough? Their hair colors are completely different. In the end, Sugu could only say helplessly, "I am the admiral, and that is the ship girl." In coastal cities, people are basically aware of the existence of admirals and ship girls, and they must be able to understand them. But the look over there became more contemptuous. Sugu could probably guess what the clerk was thinking. He had heard about the admiral's decadent life, and sure enough, a grown man and a girl slept in the same room. Famous. Out of disdain, Sugu decided to ignore it. Of course, nothing could happen at night. I didn't have a good rest along the way. When I got off the train and found the hotel, I really didn't want to move. On the other hand, Fletcher seemed to be in high spirits. After all, he had been taking care of his 3 younger sisters. The younger sisters were competing with each other for being naughty. They had to be tortured for a long time every day. This kind of running around was just child's play. Anyway, had a good night's sleep. When Sugu got up the next morning, he sat beside the bed and saw that Fletcher had prepared a towel for washing and a toothbrush filled with toothpaste. He left the hotel, hailed a taxi, and found Mu Cheng's villa before noon. I watched the cars passing by on the roadside, and then walked in one by one in suits and ties. Sugu looked at himself, looking a little shabby for a moment. It seems like this is it. It's much better than our townhouse. The gardens, swimming pools, and villas are incredible. Fletcher comforted, the town hall is very good. I just said that casually. Admiral Sue, suddenly a slightly unfamiliar voice appeared. Looking in the direction of the sound, a person was walking this way. As the person got closer, Sugu saw it clearly and remembered it. As luck would have it, that person was the Kirishima whom I had seen before. As ship girls and warriors, they are much sharper and sharper than ordinary people. Kirishima said, "You are here too?" "Yes." "Are you alone?" "Where is your admiral?" "There." No words were said here. In the crowd, Shinkai didn't see Kirishima, who usually followed him everywhere. He looked around and found Sugu's presence, and ran over. "What are you doing standing here?" Sugu replied, "Nothing, we just came over. It hasn't been long since I've been here." "Consultant Su, have you been here before?" "No." Shinkai laughed, "I've heard that Xiaomu's family is rich, but I didn't expect that he was that rich. My family is an ordinary working-class family, with an apartment of less than 100 square meters with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. I was scared when I came here." "A big jump. You must have a big garrison now." "Yeah, super big." Sugu looked at the villa. I've always been curious. Young Master Mu and Li Yao haven't been dating for a long time. They moved so fast. Li Yao is his childhood sweetheart, and it's enough to know everything about him. In fact, I heard that Xiaomu's family gave him the position of admiral without inheriting the family business. The premise is that he must get married. Then the family arranges a blind date, not to mention the ship competition. Mom, a well-matched daughter from a wealthy family, originally had a narrow range of choices. She may have looks but no personality, she may have personality but no looks, or neither, and some of them got married early. He didn't want to go on a blind date, so in the end he could only find Li Yao as a shield. Then, there was no after. Anyway, they are married now. It happened that Li Yao had stayed in Chuangzhou for a long time and was open-minded. Not for shipwives, wedding ships, and destroyers. As long as you can build a capital ship, you can get married. Relationship. But considering Xiaomu's luck, I wish them a long life together. Noticing the girl standing next to Sugu, Shinkai spoke again and asked, "Your girl?" "Well, Destroyer Fletcher." After a moment of silence, Shinkai said expressionlessly, "Stop talking here, let's go in." Seeing that Shinkai took the first step, Sugu said, "Wait a minute, let me ask you a question, how much gift money will you give?" Soon after entering the villa, I first saw Mu Cheng's parents. They seemed to be very kind people, without much of the majesty and temperament of those in power. "You are here." Both Sugu and Shinkai were friends that Mu Cheng met in college. The wedding day was very busy, and the other party had many local classmates and friends who needed to be entertained. Mu Cheng said a few words to the two of them and ended. Similarly, Li Yao didn't pay much special attention to Fletcher, but Anthony, Brian, and Cassin Yang surrounded Fletcher. Seeing this scene makes people think of the old third child who was demolished by himself, and feels a little sad. Well, to really say, if you haven't seen her or gotten along with her, you can't feel it. Not to mention the old third child, even if they have the reputation of being the head maid, they have not lived together. Apart from expectations, there are no deep feelings. After all, the game cannot fall in love with the paper man. In short, the two of them stood on one side, with Fletcher and Kiri's Hima next to them, two beautiful girls who attracted attention. Not long after, Mu Cheng came over with a man. After hearing the introduction, the man was originally an intern as the Admiral of the Guard House. "Hello, I am the Admiral of Highway Guard's house." Sugu also introduced himself. After the introduction, the man asked curiously, "You are the Admiral, right? The garrison suppressed the deep-sea flagship. Xiao Mu told me many times that you were protecting him." "I can't protect him. To suppress the deep-sea flagship, I have to rely on the help of the ship's headquarters. The company's combat team is quite strong, but the opponent is 3 deep-sea flagships, which are not that good. Even if she goes into battle herself, there is still no hope. How about adding Missouri?" "Missouri, I heard about it once. It's a very powerful battleship with strong air defense. Did she participate?" "No." Sugu really wanted to say it, but he held it back in the end and did not say it out loud. "Missouri is now in our garrison." However, Chin Kai said next to him, "I have never been there, but I know that there are many people in his garrison. I went to St. Slovakia before and happened to run into him." "Well, it's Guam again, and it's Akagi again." "Akagi. He is the instructor of our college, whom you all should know. He is no longer in the college and has become his wedding ship. In addition to these two people, there is also Richelieu." "Coincidence, coincidence, and then we ran into his team when we came back. There's more Washington, South Dakota, North Carolina, that's a lot. Nothing to say." They didn't talk for long before 2 more people came over. Chin Kai knew them and were former classmates. However, Sugu didn't know him. After all, they were not in the same class. It was just the right time for him to meet Chin Kai. Until the end, Lu Jianxia didn't see it. Maybe he didn't come because he had something to do, or he wasn't invited. I don't know. In short, time passed by and the wedding began. But as a young master from a big business owner, the wedding seemed ordinary and the same. Chin Kai came close to Sugu and slandered in a low voice, "The wedding is a success. Do you think Mu Cheng's family is a nouveau riche who is speculative? Ha, just kidding. But I heard Xiao Mu say before that his parents are he is a very open-minded person without much dogmatism. Because of this, he supported his career very much and gave him a lot of money to buy resources for construction. Although everything failed. The family was originally very rich, well, it failed. It's a lot, and it's still very rich. Regardless of whether you are a nouveau riche or not, one thing is certain, the dinner is sumptuous enough, with big fish and meat. But now Sugu doesn't have much interest in eating, and Akagi is not around anymore. The table is full of admirals and ship girls. This is good, everyone has something in common." As he was talking, he saw the toasting team coming over. The gift money was actually given at the beginning. Sugu still said, "In our hometown, it is a red envelope for a glass of wine, and then the wine glasses are piled up. Some of them also put soup and soy sauce. The euphemistic name is the ups and downs that marriage must have. I think it's too much, the wine is not enough, the soup is messed up." The toasting team came over, and the best man and bridesmaid didn't recognize them. After toasting, Mu Cheng asked Sugu, "Don't tell me, you left right after dinner." "It's not that fast. It will take at least a day or 2 to play. Stay here tonight, I've arranged a room for you. By the way, I want to tell you something." "Oh, forget it, I won't talk about the business today. Otherwise, you won't be in the mood at all if I tell you. Just wait until tomorrow, or at most the day after tomorrow. Anyway, I have something to tell you. What on earth is going on? It's uncomfortable for you to say half a sentence like this. Mu Cheng smiled playfully. I'm happy when you feel uncomfortable. Sugu really wanted to say, your wedding, there is no more down there, the eunuch is not good. However, at a wedding, a big day, there are some jokes that are hard to tell. Until Mu Cheng left, Sugu looked at the three little girls sitting next to Fletcher and asked, who do you usually sleep with at night? Admiral. Cursing secretly in his heart, he's a lolicon. Sugu wanted to say, you guys have to sleep with the Admiral tonight, otherwise the Admiral must be married and not like you anymore. After thinking about it, I still felt it was a bit too unscrupulous. It's like saying to the children of parents who want to have a second child, your parents won't like you after you have younger siblings. Some people find it funny, indifferent, and harmless, but it is actually quite annoying behavior. The wedding was over, and in the end Mu Cheng still didn't say anything serious. At night, Sugu found out that he had been cheated again. In fact, he was not cheated. In short, he and Fletcher only had one room and one bed. Sharing a bed with a girl was still a bit awkward. Afterwards, I wanted to find someone, but I learned that the couple had entered the room. The newlyweds couldn't just go up and cause trouble. There was absolutely no secret joy, thinking that he would not be afraid of the shadows as he stood upright, so he said it didn't matter if the two of them slept on one side. Fletcher said cautiously, Admiral, you sleep on the left side and I sleep on the right side. Don't come over. If you do, you will be a beast. Bullying a girl is very interesting. Sugu laughed heartily, do you want me to be a beast, or worse than a beast? After saying this, he fell asleep, and of course nothing happened during the night. One thing he knew was that Fletcher was sleeping on the edge of the bed and rolled to the floor not long after the lights were turned off. One thing he didn't know was that the girl kept her eyes open, afraid of what would happen. She lingered until midnight before finally falling asleep, and then got up early the next morning staring at the dark circles under her eyes. Sugu also got up very early. After all, it was not easy to sleep in at other people's houses. Went to the living room in the morning. Li Yao took Fletcher's hand and asked, I specially arranged for you to be in the same room. I know you like the Admiral. No. Liar, I knew about it before. It's not just me who knows about it. Everyone including Shi Chiao and the store manager knows about it. Ah. Can I get the ring? Is there any development? No. I didn't expect Sugu to be such a weakling. Li Yao was originally a cheerful type, but he became more and more unscrupulous after getting married. On the other side, sitting next to the sofa, Mu Cheng asked Sugu, have Chin Kai and the others not gotten up yet? Sugu said, I don't know, it seems that I went out for a wander in the morning. Mu Cheng opened his hand towards Sugu, revealing red dates, do you want to eat dates? Sugu said, I won't eat it. Forget it if you don't want to eat it. I pulled it out of the bed last night, and it said that I would have a baby early and be prosperous. In addition to dates, there are also longans and peanuts. I always feel that such a wedding is arranged by my parents in a foreign-style way. Mu Cheng's character is really out of tune, and he has a handsome appearance that can be said to be like a sword-shaped eyebrow and a starry face. Imagine a cold handsome guy always showing a lewd smile, which makes people feel really inappropriate. Sighing, Mu Cheng continued, they insist that I get married. I want to have grandchildren. They talk about raising children to protect me in old age. In fact, I think Anthony, Brian, and Cassin Yang will take care of me in old age, which is almost it. Wait. I can't move, so they will definitely take on the task of taking care of me. I am still a little lowly now, but I will definitely grow up and become a big beauty in the future, at least like Chinkai's Anthony. I thought, it's okay to have a daughter, but what to do if I give birth to a son? My ship girl is so cute, what if my son falls in love with my ship girl? No, my ship girl won't like him, at least not I love her so much, and secondly, she is his aunt. Your thoughts are really perverted, Sugu continued. What serious business did you want to tell me yesterday? Business, you asked me to pay attention to the wandering ship girl before. You said that your ship girl left the townhouse and can't be found. I don't understand why your townhouse is so strong, but you don't want to say, I don't have it. Solution. Come here, I will tell you directly. If you don't come, you can only wait until when I go to Sichuan show. A city is so big, it's hard to meet someone. But as admirals, we are more sensitive to ship girls. I didn't know it before. I didn't know until I got home to prepare for the wedding. Yes, I found a wandering ship in Sujiang, Mom. In fact, it wasn't me who discovered it, it was mainly my friends who told me about it. I don't know if she is your ship's wife. There are a few possibilities. One of them is probably not. She has the temperament of a wife, but she is more like a widow. The admiral has passed away. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 555. Fletcher raised the small box in his hand, which contained several pink pastries. Admiral, do you want some more pastries? Sugu had already tasted one piece and felt that the pastry was too sweet and greasy, so he said, no need. Then I can feed them to them, okay. Following Fletcher's line of sight and looking into the distance, little Lolita Anthony, Cassin Yang, and Brian were lying on the guardrail of the stone arch bridge. They looked at the green river water and the black painted awning boats passing by. They were shouting while crossing the stone bridge. Actually, they are not considered your sisters. The girl stared at the bluestone on the ground and whispered, it doesn't matter if she is my sister. Sister, Sister Fletcher, come quickly. Standing on the stone arch bridge, Anthony waved and shouted, come and see, there are cormorants here, there are a lot of them. Even though his sister was shouting, the admiral didn't say anything. Fletcher didn't dare to move at all. Admiral, can I leave? After hearing the timid voice of the girl, I told her many times that I don't have to worry about being victimized, but I still can't change it. Sugu waved his hand, go ahead and take them well. Fletcher ran to the stone arch bridge, and then started nagging, persuading everyone not to lie on the railing, it was dirty and dangerous. Behind, Sugu, Mu Cheng and Li Yu were walking slowly. Before they got on the bridge, Sugu said, young Master Mu, have you never brought them here before? Seeing how happy they were, they looked like they were here for the first time. Once you come here, everything you see is new. Mu Cheng shook his head, his eyes full of doting, how could I not bring them to play? What fun place have I not taken them to? I have been here several times before, but every time I come, they are very happy. This he looked very happy once, probably because his sister Fletcher, whom he likes, is here. They obviously belong to different admirals, so they can become sisters. Ah, the elder sister takes the younger sister, what a beautiful scene. They had just become husband and wife, and it seemed as if their relationship had broken down. He glared at Li Yu, it's all her fault for not telling me earlier that Fletcher was working in the maid cafe. The admiral is missing and can't be found. As long as he encounters before arriving at the admiral, Fletcher, Sigsby, Thatcher, and Sullivan, please give me some time. With my outstanding charm, I will be able to win them over. Fletcher looks so weak, as long as his attitude if you be tougher, you might give in and the rest will be easier to handle. Even if the admiral disappears or dies, due to the fickleness of human hearts, some admirals have done very bad things, and the ship's wife has left the admiral. However, no matter what the reason is, once there is an admiral, the ship's wife will not recognize the admiral again, and would rather everyone knows that you are alone. It was clear that Mu Cheng was joking, so Sugu said, "You are dreaming." Li Yu also rolled his eyes at Mu Cheng and said, "I also think he is dreaming. I didn't know Fletcher was a ship girl before, but she works as a clerk in a coffee shop. If someone wants to harass her, she will become a fierce little female cat. After all, she works several jobs by herself, gets up early and stays late, so she is really weak and has been eaten up to the point where nothing is left." Recalling the memory of working together in the coffee shop, Li Yu looked at Sugu again and said, "I'm surprised, Fletcher was always good. Every time you appeared next to her, she became scared. You must have you done something outrageous?" Sugu did not hesitate and said without any regrets, "Nonsense and slander. I have never done anything to Fletcher. I don't know why she is afraid of me. I am obviously so good. TCH, who believes you? Whether you believe it or not, this is a fact. She is my ship girl. I have always treated her well and never treated her badly." Surrounded by small bridges and running water, we walked across 2 bridges and then through an alley. Most of the alleys are small shops selling various tourist souvenirs, as well as small farmhouse restaurants. Walking to the river again, a awning boat was parked at the small pier by the river, and an old man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a pole was soliciting customers. Mu Cheng looked up at the sky and said, "The weather is nice today and there are so many tourists. Well, shall we take a boat ride? Go and take a look first, otherwise I won't be in the mood. If you can't eat hot tofu in a hurry, you won't be far away." In fact, before breakfast had been eaten in the morning, Sugu became impatient after hearing the rumors from Mu Cheng. Thinking about the huge Sujiang city, which is also close to the seaside, there will definitely be no shortage of ship girls. I can't see the ship girl, I just lack a pair of eyes that can detect the ship girl. Then Makoto first talked about the battle cruiser Banco, who was a white-collar worker in a company in the city center. No, it should be said to be Harina. This news was of no use to Sugu. I didn't have this ship girl at all at the beginning, and before I gave up, Harina hadn't been released in the game. It was obvious that she was not his ship girl and had no interest in going over to see her. There is also news about the heavy cruiser Kinyagaza. Kinyagaza works in a toy store on Wushi Street and went over to take a look. The girl wears a peaked cap, has long black hair, and is dressed fashionably. Even though they are the same model, each ship girl has a different appearance. I originally expected Fletcher, but the girl said she didn't recognize Kinyagaza. In the end, I could only go up and buy something by myself. I bought several items and deliberately bargained. The other party didn't seem to recognize him at all, and it seemed that he was no longer his ship girl. At the same time, I heard that there was only Kinyagaza and no Aoba. Thinking about the fact that both Aoba and Kinyagaza are present in his own garrison, it is impossible for the 2 sisters to be separated. In the end, it was nothing and I just bought a gift for each of the 3 little Lolita. After leaving the toy store, Fletcher was surprised that he didn't recognize Kinyagaza. Li Yu protected Fletcher, "You don't know your own ship girl, so you blame our Fletcher. No man is good." Sugu originally just complained subconsciously and had no intention of blaming Fletcher. After hearing what Li Yu said, there should be no complaints. He showed an expression of shame. Who told him to build the clothes and leave them alone? Mu Cheng joined in the fun. "Why are there no good things? I am the one." "Yes, you are a good thing, a thing, a thing, a thing. In short, that's it." The morning passed and I rushed to another place in the afternoon. The weaving of rivers, criss-crossing stone bridges, high walls, and deep alleys, and water pavilions with flying eaves give it a bit of a Jiangnan water town feel. However, this is not Suzhou and Hangzhou, it is called Sujiang. There is also no Wuhan, no Zhoushuang, and no Zitang. It is just a small town that takes nearly half an hour to drive outside Sujiang City. Qin Kai took Kiri's Hima to play, but Mu Cheng and Li Yu were by his side. In fact, Sugu got the address and just wanted him and Fletcher to rush over and have a look. He never liked troublesome people unless he had to, but the two men expressed their wish to go together. Sugu didn't really regard being polite as a blessing. He said, "You are newly married, so there is no need to accompany us." Mu Cheng spread his hands, "New marriages are no different, it's just like this. And the way you looked in front of Kinyagaza this morning was really funny. We were planning to play around, and it just so happened that a few little guys liked following your Toru's side. It's not like I'm going out to do things, just looking around." Recalling what happened in the morning, it was exactly like this that the two of them were quite touching. The group walked not far, and finally crossed a bridge and walked into an antique two-story building. We found a seat by the window on the second floor and sat down. When the waiter came, everyone ordered tea and some pastries. Consultant Su, here. Yes, here. I admit, Wunong's soft talk is quite nice, but the waiters here don't look very good. Ship girls have different looks, some have oval faces, and some have round faces. There are fair skins and wheat-colored skins like South Dakota, but every ship girl can be said to be a beautiful woman with different aesthetics. Looking around, the waiters in the small building can be said to have regular facial features, but they are definitely not beautiful. Mu Cheng brought himself a cup of tea and poured another cup for everyone. I can't tell the difference between Longjing and Taiguanyin, but the tea here tastes really good. How do you know it's a gone girl? I heard it from a friend. I don't know if it's an exaggeration or not. Just listen to it. Gone girls are all beautiful and everyone likes them. But apart from gone girls, there are also many ordinary people are very beautiful, not inferior to ship girls. Well, they are very beautiful, so we can't call them ordinary people. Anyway, the proprietress of this building is very beautiful, and no one knew she was a ship girl at first. Whether it is the second generation of rich people or the second generation of officials, it seems to be the first generation of officials. Some people have a little bit of power and want to touch everything. They are as lustful as life. When they see the boss's wife is beautiful, they want the boss's wife to accompany them to drink, otherwise is it an unspoken rule or something, but that person was kicked out of the store. I have some power, so I really called people over. A group of police came, and they wanted to seal the store and arrest people. These police were unwilling to let go, and then, a group of Navy came and surrounded all the police. After all, the Navy and the ship girl I have contact with the headquarters. Then everyone knew that this restaurant is run by Gan Niang. Gan Niang is not allowed to interfere in political affairs, but not everyone can bully or cause trouble. I have been very busy preparing for the wedding, with small things happening all the time. When I learned that there was a ship girl, I also came once. It's just that she didn't like to show up in public, so it took me a lot of effort to see her. I had no choice but to learn that the boss lady was a ship girl. Mom, everyone wants to come and take a look. Everyone would be unhappy if they were watched by others. They don't want to see people. Yuxian, you are really beautiful. Enjoying tea, it's better to say cow's drink. Watching Fletcher comfort the little loli not to run around, advisor Su said, in this case, how can we see her? Yuxian. Give it to me. Saying this, Mu Cheng waved to the waiter. The waiter came over, nodded, and hurriedly left backstage again. Several people were drinking tea and waiting, so naturally they couldn't hear the woman talking to herself. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 556. In summer and autumn, cheongsam is often worn to outline a slim figure. Now that winter has entered, Yuxian is wearing a fur coat. Fur clothing, even if it is fur. Fur clothes are not cheap, but I liked them very much when I first saw them and eventually bought them. The plush neckline contrasted with her beautiful cheeks. Judging from the raised corners of her mouth, she should be smiling, but it was difficult to see the smile from her face. She is good at taking care of people, and is also good at cooking. She always speaks gently and softly, and looks like a married woman. However, there is always a sadness on her face that cannot be eliminated. At first glance, she feels more like a widow. Regarding this point, she had to explain it awkwardly every time she met someone. She also worried about it in private and thought about the reason. As a ship girl, she inherited the soul of the light cruiser Euxian. The Euxian has experienced national hatred and family feud, the history of steel and the memories of the crew. The melancholy, regret, and unwillingness may be one of the reasons for such a temperament. On the other hand, although there was never a marriage contract, there was no promise. Others don't know, but I know that my heart has been promised to the Admiral. When the Admiral left, I felt abandoned and it was really hard to smile brightly again. Sitting on the edge of the bed, wrapped in fur clothes, she was chanting, "Admiral, Admiral." She then remembered that in the years since she left the Admiral, she had opened a tea house, which not only sold tea but also sold various snacks and delicacies. It was still very popular in the entire tourist town. There are advantages and disadvantages to opening a store as a woman, especially as a beautiful woman. Beauty will attract men's pursuit, and business that would have been impossible to win can be successfully won. The difficulty is that the other party has to figure out what they want from you even if you could have won the business. I have also encountered many women who spoke harshly, and even when their identities as shipgirls were exposed, they still refused to stop. He was called a vixen, a scumbag. How could he have a husband, and he never got a ring? Of course, when encountering this kind of situation, you are not always gentle. Although most of the time you give in, you will occasionally retort in a dull and annoying way. In fact, I know that if such people pay attention to her, they will be more energetic. Ignore it and they will feel complacent. Such people often bully the weak and fear the strong. If you deal with them and teach them a lesson, they will never dare to say anything more, but they just can't make a move. After all, these are not problems. Working for such a long time has cultivated an atmosphere of freedom and independence. This is a small matter. What's the big deal? Euxian sat at the antique round wooden table, with his left hand on the table and his face pillowed on it. In his right hand, he held a beautiful hairpin and twirled it in front of his eyes, talking to himself. Being a stranger in a foreign land, I miss my family even more during the festive season. As a ship girl, in the final analysis, without a hometown, it is difficult to have the concept of a foreign land. However, for the ship girl, hometown, home, and bay, everything is given by the Admiral. Without the Admiral, everything is gone, and everywhere is a foreign land. Not only Sujiang, I have also been to other cities before, such as Shancheng, Zhonghai, etc., but no place feels like home. Now that New Year's Eve is approaching, celebrating the new year is the top priority. Missing one person means something is missing after all. Why did this happen to me? Or, as the Euxian, just like in history, it will encounter a lot of hardships. As a battleship, I have no choice but to stay away from my hometown, and as a ship girl, I also stay away from the Admiral. A battleship has no soul and will serve as an enemy. Service means serving others. As a ship girl, you have your own ideas and thinking. No one can do it except you, but where are you? It's getting harder and harder to live life. It's really troublesome to not have a man around. If the business next door or in the hotel across the street is bad, I'll come over and scold people. I've been bullied, made trouble, and had to close the store. It's not easy. Only then did we solve the problem. Really, my ship girl was bullied, but as the admiral, she is not around. What the hell, if you are around, I will definitely stand up. No, if you come back, everyone will return to guard. The government no longer needs to take care of such things. We receive so many flowers every day, beautiful roses, that we can open a flower shop. Every once in a while, someone comes over and talks about marriage, saying that a woman must have a man by her side. But a woman must also be loyal. Don't you think so? Well, we will be fine, but won't you be jealous? Ninghai and Pinghai are still working so hard. Even Chung Ching, who didn't know anything before, has learned to use chopsticks and has become very proficient. When she cooks, she doesn't just use salted fish and potatoes. By the way, she wearing a cyan chong sam, holding an umbrella in the misty rain is really beautiful, the big sister holding an umbrella, the little sister holding an umbrella. Growing up, the changes are really big. It used to be a British ship, but what has it become now? You are always I like to say that the Ministry of Agriculture protects the country, and the Fisheries Administration opens up new territories. Everyone is a fishery administration vessel. Seeing that it's New Year's Eve and no one is lighting firecrackers this year, do you still have to give it to Ninghai and Pinghai? As for the red envelopes, do you still want me to hand them out? Chung Ching is obviously such an adult, but she actually asked me for red envelopes. She just learned the customs, that's it. Now, don't you really want to see what they are like? Lantern Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, New Year's Day, and now it's New Year's Eve. We are all reunited, and we have to go home to celebrate the New Year even if we are thousands of miles away. Even if we have money, we should go home to celebrate the New Year. There is no need for a guardhouse or a luxurious house, as long as there is, even if you are here, it doesn't matter, even a small shabby house. I will prepare sumptuous food at home. First of all, there must be a plate of fish. There will be more than enough every year, there will be more than enough every year. There will be fish every year. You like fish the most. Should I eat big mackerel or archerfish? I think, after dinner, we sit by the fire pit, chat together, and then hold our watches and prepare to set off firecrackers at the first second of the new year. Then on the first day of the new year, no one is allowed to say unlucky words. And I stopped cooking all day and only heated up the New Year's Eve dinner, because I didn't have anything to do all day and could only play. To play, where should I go? Go to the river, probably the seaside. With you by my side, I can be happy wherever I am. It doesn't matter no matter how boring you are, but I think you will be bored first, impatient admiral. We promised to get Yang Rui and Zayahi, but no one has them. Speaking of which, should the word blessing be posted upright or upside down? It would be better to post the word blessing upside down or upside down. But if you put it this way, everything will be upside down when blessing comes, prosperity comes, everything goes smoothly. It's here. Anyway, whether it's sticking upright or backwards, you need to stick it up. There were many things on his mind, and suddenly there was a knock on the door, and Yuxian's soliloquy came to an abrupt end. Sister Yuxian, are you there? The kitchen is probably too busy, so we have to go over and help. It's still not possible to leave it to Pinghai and Ninghai. While thinking about it, Yuxian quickly arranged his clothes and straightened his messy hair, and said, "Here, come in, what do you want?" On the other side, sitting on the second floor, Sugu and Mu Cheng were talking. "The reason you just found, you want to meet your landlady. I am the admiral and my name is Sugu. There is a landlady who ran away from home and is called Chang Chun." Sugu said, "The waiter insisted on us giving a reason before calling someone for us, so I said it smoothly. This reason is quite good. Chang Chun happens to be a fishery administration ship. It's almost the same to ask Yuxian about the situation. After all, we can't, to put it bluntly, we have lost Yuxian in our town hall, and we suspect you are it. If you say this, you will be regarded as a hooligan. It doesn't matter whether Changchun or Changchun, the main thing is my name. Even if he is an admiral, a simple visit will be declined, and he can only find some excuses. If you directly say that you may be the ship girl of our garrison and I am your admiral, you will not only be regarded as a gangster, but if you are not, it will be embarrassing. The most important thing is the name. Hearing his own name and still being indifferent means that he is not his ship girl. Then just have some good snacks, and we will go back to the governor's mansion tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to celebrate the new year. Mu Cheng's face became distorted. He had never seen Changchun, but he had learned about various warships in the old world in the academy. For example, the Changchun is very clear, it is a guided missile destroyer. Others would have thought it was bragging, but the other person had a small house, and no one had ever seen or heard of the young Tirpitz. There is also a possibility of visiting Changchun, which no one has ever seen before. You, don't tell me, you have Changchun. Sugu said with a smile, I just made up any reason. I don't know if there is one in Changchun. I am brave. He heard what Xiaozai said, and boldly traveled to the east, wanting to change his name to Changchun. The name has changed, probably because it has grown up, like Princeton. Finally feeling at ease, Mu Cheng said disdainfully, Guogan, I still have the ball, and she might become the Shenyang in the future. Even if the ball will grow into the Shenyang, your ball will definitely not be able to grow. It's not like a game, it's easy to transform here. Now after trying for so long, only Akagi has succeeded. Richelieu, for example, wanted to modify it and tried many methods but failed. Of course, a certain step still hasn't been carried out, and presumably it's not for this reason. It's difficult for me to grow up. If I don't think highly of Mu Cheng, it's 100% impossible. Mu Cheng was dissatisfied, why can't my bower grow? Okay, your bower can grow. Speaking of which, I didn't see her come out today. Where is your bower? Mu Cheng showed a resentful expression, she didn't follow me out. She prefers to stay at home and do her own things by herself. She doesn't like me very much. Tea and snacks were served at this time, and Sugu took a piece and put it in his mouth. It tastes so good. Compared with the snacks bought on the roadside, it is really different that they are more expensive. Let's not discuss whether she is her own ship girl. Yuxian's cooking is really good. She is indeed a ship girl who is naturally good at cooking. She is much better than everyone in the guardhouse. If it is your own Yuxian, you can taste authentic Chinese food in the future. Even the Decathlon Lexington cannot compare with this. The pastries are good. Fletcher also ate a piece, with a happy expression on his face. When Sugu saw Fletcher, he said, You can't speak, but what are you thinking about? I want to take some back to the town hall for my sisters to eat. They like snacks. If you want to bring it, everyone should bring it. Okay, you select it specifically for your sister, and then let others choose for me. If the people here are not Yuxian, we will bring more back. If it is Yuxian, Xian, it doesn't matter if you take it with you or not, just go back. Well, you should remember Yuxian's appearance. This time Fletcher nodded and turned to Sugu, I used to fry fish with Yuxian, I recognize her. After speaking, she took a snack for each of Anthony, Brian, and Ka Xin Yang. Mu Cheng was sitting by the window. He lay on the windowsill and said angrily, It's really unfair. Why do you have so many ship girls and I don't have any? Sugu raised his finger, You have 4. They are all little Lolita. I want a big sister. If I don't have a big sister, it doesn't matter if I don't have a little sister. Otherwise, at least I can be a girl. Why do I have no one, but you have so many people? God is really unfair. Liu patted Mu Cheng on the shoulder, thinking that her husband was going too far. Although she didn't mind, since they were just getting married, she should at least think about it. She said, "How about a little face? I'll sit next to you." Sugu said, "To be fair, your family is so rich. As for me, to be honest, apart from them, I have nothing. Coming to this world that is not even familiar, there are no friends, no relatives, everything is gone. If you don't have a golden finger, then it would be too pitiful." Mu Cheng said, "You are going too far. I don't know if she is your ship girl, I hope not. I don't know. It's best. If not, it doesn't matter, I worry about gains and losses." As he spoke like this, hurried footsteps sounded. Mu Cheng turned around and said, "Su, that one is Yuxian." "Where?" Following Mu Cheng's line of sight, Sugu also saw a slim and graceful woman walking towards him, her footsteps quick. Instead of shawl hair, her long black hair was tied up. He has a delicate appearance but a sad expression on his face, which indeed gives him the aura of a widow. There is a huge difference between reality and the game's illustrations. Even though I know that the person in front of me is Yuxian, I still don't know whether he is my own Yuxian. Sugu stood up and then wanted to find Fletcher. After a few seconds, he thought it was no longer needed. He saw the woman walking in front of him and stretched out her trembling hand, as if she wanted to touch his face. She stopped halfway and then slowly lowered her hand. With such movements, look at the expressions: joy, doubt, surprise, ignorance, strength, and resentment. Then, the woman smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. No need to say more, Fletcher can recognize it without saying anything. With such a performance, she must be her own ship girl. "Yuxian, I'm back." There was no call of Admiral, no murmuring, no hug, just Yuxian squatting on the ground, then holding his hands in front of his face, and sobbing softly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 557. Seeing Yuxian squatting on the ground crying, the customers started talking. However, most of them just happened to be visiting the store as tourists, and they had no idea who the proprietress was. Just the beautiful woman squatting on the ground crying bitterly makes people filled with indignation. A few guests, who recognized Yuxian, were confused when they saw this situation for the first time, but they did not act rashly. The waiters were all girls, actually there were not many of them, and they gathered together and chatted. They are naturally familiar with Yuxian, and they also know Yuxian's identity as a ship girl. In the past, I treated everyone very gently and never spoke in a condescending manner. The salary and benefits are higher than in other stores. I prefer to be called Sister Yuxian rather than the boss lady. They care about Yuxian very much. Sister Yuxian is crying, who is that man? Have no idea. Xiaozu, you brought them here. They are guests, I am just entertaining them. I saw Wan talking to them, and then called Sister Yuxian out. The waiter named Wan said, I didn't say anything else. They said they wanted to see Sister Yuxian, so I went to call. Do you think it could be Sister Yuxian's admiral? I didn't know much about Yuxian's past, and I once had the courage to ask, but all I got was smiles and shakes of the head. They were all girls. Occasionally, everyone would gather together and gossip. Based on some of the things they heard, I had already guessed that Yuxian had a very sad past and was abandoned by the admiral. Maybe, but why did he come back? He doesn't look handsome at all, and he doesn't look very rich. If I had such a boyfriend and such an admiral, I would have gotten rid of him long ago. Yuxian's sister is actually waiting hard. The youngest waiter couldn't stand it anymore. She clenched her fists and said, Sister Yuxian seems to be crying. Let's go take care of it. Coral, what do you care about the admiral and the ship girl? I'm not sure yet whether he is Sister Yuxian's admiral. After stopping the angry Coral who wanted to go up, Juan said not long after, it must be. Look, what is Sister Yuxian doing? They had thought about it a lot before, but they had never imagined such a scene. In the past, our Sister Yuxian treated any man lukewarmly and would never accept anyone's invitation, whether it was a high-ranking official or a wealthy businessman. I also encountered some handsome admirals pursuing me. I thought there would be something going on, but in the end it was nothing special. Normally you can nod and smile, but once you want to go further, shake your head and refuse very firmly, without giving the slightest thought to others. She was always gentle, but in fact she was 1,000 miles away from any man. She never expected that one day she would sit at the table and hold a man's hand tightly. Unless it is the admiral, unless it is someone whom I have loved deeply, there are no exceptions. In fact, Sugu himself did not expect that Yuxian would do this. He finally comforted the crying Yuxian until Yuxian stood up with red eyes and asked Yuxian to sit down at the table. His hand was originally placed on the 8 Immortals table. When he reacted, he found that his hand was covered by Yuxian's stretched out hands and then held. He could only pretend not to know the situation at hand and said seriously, "Don't worry, Yuxian. I'm back and I won't leave again." Really? Originally, Sugu subconsciously wanted to say that if something unexpected happened, there was nothing I could do, otherwise I would not leave again. However, seeing the almost pleading expression on Yuxian's face, which didn't have much emotion compared to his own, the intense emotion shown by the gentle woman made people feel sad. At this time, all he needed to do was nod firmly, and he said, "I won't leave. No matter what, I will never leave again." Although he was still a little worried, Yuxian said, "If it is the admiral, Yuxian believes it." The initial surprise and excitement disappeared, and Yuxian noticed the glances from the people around him. Suddenly she saw that she was holding the admiral's hand. She was a little shy, but she still didn't let go. On the contrary, she held it tighter. "I was afraid that once I let go, the admiral would disappear like an illusion, just like in countless dreams." After all, Yuxian was not as fond of crying as Lin Daiyu. Her eye circles were still a little red, but her energy had recovered. She asked, "How did the admiral find this place?" Hearing Sugu talk about what he had experienced along the way, from meeting him at the small house in the ruins of the governor's mansion, to attending a friend's wedding and rushing to Sujiang, and then after learning the news about him, he rushed here again. She sighed, "The admiral and I really have no fate, no, it's really a coincidence that we can meet in the vast sea of people. It's really great. I've been away for so long, thank you for your hard work. I thought to myself that the journey has been difficult, but now that I can meet the admiral, all the hard work is worth it." In order to avoid worrying the admiral, Yuxian shook his head, "No, it's not hard. We have such a big tea house and the business is very good. I heard about what happened in your tea house." When Sugu told the story he heard from Mu Cheng, Yuxian actually smiled. "The admiral is confused. 3 people can become tigers, and 1 person can make gold. This is not the case, even if he wants to take revenge on us. The Industrial and Commercial Bureau can do it, but they won't call the police here. And the Navy is not stationed here and can rush over immediately. It's full of loopholes. It's rare for things to come out of nowhere." Sugu knew this. He said, "Even if it's not that exaggerated, it is true in this case. You have been bullied." Yuxian finally nodded, yes, but it doesn't matter anymore." Sugu did not say aggressively that he would avenge you. He smiled and said, "Yes, it doesn't matter. You will never have to encounter this kind of thing again. Just leave everything to me. Of course, you are the admiral. Yuxian straightened her bangs and temples, then suddenly thought of something. She stood up. By the way, Ninghai and Pinghai are in the kitchen. I'll call them over. They must be very happy to see you. They have been talking about it before. Chung Qingshi is also with us, but she is not here. This is a tea house, and we don't usually live here. Let me go there together. Sugu followed Yuxian and left. On the way, Yuxian stopped to talk to the waiter and told the waiter that he would no longer solicit customers. After finishing speaking, they went downstairs together. Entering the kitchen, there was not much oil smoke. Sugu immediately saw Ninghai and Pinghai wearing an apron and a chef's hat. Even though the two looked alike, he would not admit their mistake. Over the years, many Pinghai and Ninghai have appeared in this world. However, no one can escape the curse. If the sea is uneven, the sea will be peaceful. Taking a deep breath, Sugu shouted, Ninghai, Pinghai. Pinghai, who was quite big on her chest, was making some snacks. She first looked up and saw Sugu, and was startled. Wow, wow, Admiral. In the corner of the second floor, after the crying Yuxian stood up, Li Yu pulled Mu Cheng away and sat down where he was now, hoping to leave some space for Sugu and Yuxian. On the contrary, Mu Cheng also took away the cakes before leaving. From this point of view, it can be seen that his character is too despicable. Anyway, they sat aside and watched the whole thing. Li Yu said, "It's great to see the Admiral and the ship girl reunited. Unlike women, who are emotional creatures, Mu Cheng is very rational as a man." He sneered, "What's so touching? Who caused all this? It's all self-inflicted. It's just the ship girl who suffered." Hitting the nail on the head, Li Yu also realized that it seemed to be the same thing. But she thought about it and guessed that there might be some hidden secret in it. After all, if you want to abandon everyone at the beginning, there is no need to come back. As a childhood sweetheart, she also knew her husband's character. She rolled her eyes at Mu Cheng and said angrily, "You are jealous, right? You are jealous that someone has Yuxian. What do I have to be jealous of? You usually hear about who built the capital ship and who got the capital ship. Well, don't talk about capital ships. Light cruisers are fine. You will immediately become crazy. You are quite strange today. You didn't cry all over the world." Mu Cheng looked at Sugu and said, "This guy is very human and very special. I have been prepared for it a long time ago. A Yuxian can still bear it, neither sad nor happy." Li Yu snorted lightly, without comment. When she saw Sugu and Yuxian getting up, she said, Look, they're gone. Where did you go?" "Have no idea." The two of them finished eating the Osmanthus candy and then the halva candy. After waiting for a while, I saw Sugu and Yuxian coming back again, followed by two girls wearing chef hats. Judging from the girl's appearance, she must be a ship girl. She had never seen her before. Mu Cheng's expression became a little ugly. He saw Sugu, who should have been cut into pieces by 1,000 cuts, walking over. "My ship's wife, Yuxian." Yuxian, who used to come here by himself and was reluctant to smile in front of him, now smiled, Thank you. It doesn't matter, it's what I should do." And then they are. Ninghai and Pinghai are always in the kitchen. You probably haven't seen him. Mu Cheng nodded, "I understand. After enduring all this, I saw the customers leaving one by one, and no new customers came. It was probably because a sign indicating the closure of business was hung at the door. As the guests left, the waiters began to clear the tables and chairs. Seeing the evening, it turns dark earlier in winter. He was still thinking about how to say hello. It was evening and he should go back. The car was still parked in the parking lot outside the town. "It's dark. Young Master Mu, Li Yu, are you going back tonight?" "Of course I'm going back. The main thing is this, how can I put it, You go back first, I will probably stay here tonight. As for you, it's getting late, so pay attention to your safety. Mu Cheng was stunned for a while, and then he heard Yuxian's voice. The voice is very gentle, but the person speaking is not herself. Admiral, we are going home. Are you just leaving like this? Shit, you guys are going to live together? Fall. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 558. It's one thing to put Fletcher in the same room. After all, being an admiral can't ruin a girl, even though the girl's figure is more explosive than many others. However, Yuxian is different. Imagine that a classical beauty with outstanding temperament lives together with a pervert admiral who has many wedding ships. The pervert admiral is not herself, which is heartbreaking. Mu Cheng was very sincere and tried to persuade her again and again. You need a room, Fletcher needs a room, is the guest room enough? Let's go back together. I want to take you to Sujiang City in the evening. Although Sujiang is not as good as Sichuanshou, it has many scenery that Sichuanshou does not have. After all, Sichuanshou is an emerging city. Have you never been to Zizhu Park? Well, during the New Year's Eve period, someone organized to put up lotus lanterns at night, which is very beautiful. We haven't seen each other for a long time. You will be leaving in 2 days. We must take this opportunity to chat more. The city is not far from here. Come back early tomorrow morning. I'll fill up the tank for you. You can use the car as you wish. There was no sunset or sunset, this evening was just ordinary. Although Mu Cheng looked back 3 times, with infinite resentment in his eyes, his expression could be as sincere as possible, and his words were extravagant, Sugu still refused without hesitation. The room was not the best, so I had no choice but to share a room with a girl. Unlike Leipzig, where we hold cameras all day long, to be honest, we are not very interested in the beautiful scenery. Especially compared to girls, what is there to care about the feelings of an African admiral? By the Green River, Mu Cheng finally left in despair. Of course, it's just a lack of appearance, he likes to be funny. He took his newlywed wife away, and it was thanks to Liu that he could tolerate his character. There are also 3 beloved little Lolita. In fact, the little Lolita wants to stay by Fletcher's side, but her sister's charm is not as good as that of the admiral. If they didn't have an admiral, relying on Fletcher, it would be easy to fish out the old 3. Sugu followed Yuxian and left the tea house. The place where everyone lived was still a little far away from the tea house. On the way, Consultant Su asked, "Is your tea house bought or rented?" They are about the same height, look similar, and have almost the same hair color and hairstyle. Except through the chest, it is as easy to distinguish Ninghai from Pinghai. As her elder sister, Ninghai has a much more stable personality. She said next to her, "It's for rent." From the beginning, I was thinking about how to end it and bring everyone back to the town hall. This kind of thing was too much to deal with. Sugu said, "It's mainly New Year's Eve, and I'm thinking that we all have to go back to the governor's mansion together. What should we do in the tea house?" Yuxian tugged on the fur coat on his body and looked at the tea house in the evening. The signboard was swaying in the wind. The tea house has been in business for a long time, and everyone has personally decorated the simple little building into the ancient tea house it is now, and has brought many memories. However, compared with the admiral, this is a small matter, she said, there is no other way but to close the door. How long does it take to sign the contract? I signed a contract for 4 years, and the rent is paid every quarter. I can't sublet it for a short time. Subletting is not allowed unless approved by the landlord. When I return to the town hall in the future, I can only pay liquidated damages. Well, I can't get back the liquidated damages. What about the waiter? Yuxian is not a purely gentle or weak woman. Having opened the store for so long, She has also developed an independent and capable side. Apart from the admirals, ordinary people can easily give up. Moreover, the relationship is only between the boss and the employees. She said, Xiaowan, Huanhu, Xiaoli, Sister Lu. I have no choice but to fire them, but I will compensate them. The Chinese New Year is just around the corner, so they can rest at home and find jobs easily next year. Sugu looked at Yuxian, and then at Fletcher, who had been silent beside him. This girl was carrying 2 boxes of cakes. It is said that if he is not around, he will turn into a fierce little female cat when he is bullied. However, he cannot imagine how fierce he is usually, and he can only see his weakness. He actually thought of Kent, a really weak girl who couldn't even resist. After receiving a little threat and pleading, I immediately became overwhelmed. I taught her a lesson before, saying, if you meet a bachelor who says how pitiful he is and wants you to be his wife, do you have to agree? At that time, I only dared to hesitate, saying that I would not agree to such a thing. Although Kent has become more powerful now that he has acquired a big tiger, he used to be a weak chicken. In comparison, Yuxian is much better. Speaking of which, in a tourist attraction like this, won't you be working during the Chinese New Year? Yuxian shook his head, no. As she said this, she thought that she couldn't just think about herself after all, Ninghai and Pinghai still wanted to play. If you work on your own, they will definitely help. At the same time, as a ship girl, I really don't have much pursuit of money. Without the admiral by his side, he might one day lose interest in life and disappear into the sea. Holding his chest, Sugu looked at the sky. New Year's Eve is only a few days away. Compared to Ninghai, her younger sister Pinghai is completely different. She is much more energetic. When she mentioned New Year's Eve, she said happily, Admiral, you still owe us a lot of New Year's money, and you have to pay it back to us together during the New Year. This sentence immediately reminded Sugu of the New Year's Eve spent on the boat last year when he followed counterattack to find the Prince of Wales. It was already very late when I returned to the governor's house afterwards. I didn't give any of the New Year's money. I just notified Lexington in advance to do it for me. It was a pity that I didn't hear all the little Lolitas say sweetly, congratulations on getting rich, bring me the red envelope this year, it will definitely be, can't miss it. Yuxian was smiling slightly, thinking that with the admiral by his side, he should be very happy this year. She said, Admiral, you don't need to pay attention to her. I give her New Year's money every year. Every time she buys firecrackers and fireworks, she spends all the money at once. Otherwise, she runs to the river and throws them into the water to fry fish, otherwise she will blow up many. All the firecrackers were put together and they blew themselves up. After hesitating for a moment, Sugu wanted to say that he could spend all the money on buying firecrackers, and the New Year's money was really not much. But thinking about her own townhouse, the little loli rarely had any pocket money, but when she went out, she could ask the adults for anything she wanted to buy. Even so, it did not prevent Sugu from gaining Pinghai's favor. He showed a firm expression, okay, Pinghai, I will definitely give you a lot of New Year's money and make up for it all. Pinghai was cheering, and Sugu added, the governor's office is preparing New Year's goods during this period. When you go back, you can finally eat authentic Chinese food. Prince Eugen and San Juan are always in charge of the canteen, and they cook the dishes. It doesn't taste bad, but it's not much better. It's more difficult to cook in a big pot. It's not a big pot meal, it's just that their craftsmanship is too poor. Now that Xianghe has returned to the tutelage, her craftsmanship is good, but she has a gentle personality and her cooking is too delicate. She always moves slowly and grinds slowly. Yuxian asked, are there many people in the garrison now? Many people are back. Sugu looked proud. By the way, the garrison has also added many new companions. I built York City, a big-hearted but brainless aircraft carrier. I also acquired the destroyers Arashi and Cushing. No, well, you can definitely imagine who else I caught, the battleship USS Missouri. Haha, I almost forgot Zeppelin again. Chuangziu, do you know? She is an instructor at the Chuangziu Naval Academy. Water Pavilion, Bridge, Stone Alley. The night is not completely dark yet. Walking along the way, I saw the dimly lit ancient buildings near and far. It didn't take long, and he almost walked out of the entire town, entered a small courtyard, and stopped in front of a 4-story building. The exterior walls are painted with rice stone and covered with ivy. This building looks like a rural supply and marketing cooperative and a government dormitory in my memory. Sugu said, "You live here?" Yuxian said, "Yes." Ninghai's mind was racing, and she said, "Admiral, do you think we live in a tile-roofed house? It's not like living in a tile-roofed house." Sugu burst into laughter. The bridges and pavilions have white walls and green tiles. There are red lanterns hanging in front of the door. When you go out, you can see a clear river full of beautiful willow trees. The ground is paved with bluestone slabs, and you can go deep into the river from the bank along the steps. You can wash clothes and wash rice by the river, and occasionally a boat will park next to it. The thin raindrops fall down, and then a woman wearing a cheongsam and holding an umbrella walks by. When I first saw Yuxian, I immediately thought of this kind of picture. Ninghai opened his hands and counted. The bottom of the river is full of water plants, not pebbles. The turquoise river water is not clear at all. The river water is not clean at all. If you want to wash clothes, you can barely do it, but washing rice is definitely not possible. And beauty here means beauty. It is inconvenient to live there. There is no vegetable market on the roadside, every household sells handicrafts, and there are no shops selling snacks. Until the girl finished speaking, she shrugged her shoulders. Sugu smiled. He felt that he was a little self-righteous. Anyway, when we went upstairs, the consultant from Zhongsu asked, "Chongqing is at home, right?" Yuxian said, "She has been at home recently and prepared dinner for everyone in advance. Her craftsmanship should be pretty good." Yuxian pursed a smile, "Not bad." After taking out the key and opening the door, everyone went in and heard a crisp and happy sound. Yuxian. There was only Chongqing at home, and Sugu quickly saw each other. The woman with silver hair, orange eyes, and an apron was standing in the entrance hall holding a plate of dishes, with a smile on her face. There are many differences, such as not wearing a cheongsam, wearing fur slippers, and holding a dish instead of a model ship. However, Chongqing is still like a dress-up in the game called Past and Present Life. Of course, Sugu didn't have this dress-up. He was not interested in buying a ship model and giving it a dress-up. It's not in the game, but I saw it on the internet. It's very beautiful, so I wrote it down. Chongqing first saw Fletcher, who had an obviously stunned expression on her face, and then saw Sugu, who was stunned. She took a long time and uttered, "Mother Zipai." After she finished speaking, her entire face turned red. It was just a curse word, but Sugu didn't feel angry at all. His face that turned red due to shyness was so cute. "No, Chongqing, you are too dramatic." Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai Rong Yan. Chapter 559. Without taking off his apron, Chongqing puffed up his face slightly and said, "Admiral, why are you looking at me all the time?" Sugu smiled and lowered his head, "I didn't look." Chongqing shouted, "Just watch it, you are still laughing, don't laugh. You are such a bastard, but you just came here now, what's wrong if I scold you?" "Nothing, nothing. It's my fault in the first place. If you want to vent your anger, feel free to scold me." "Stop laughing, you're still laughing, I'll hit you." Counting from the time everyone came back, Chongqing had prepared food early in the morning, but she hadn't finished it yet, so Yuxian also went over to help. After all, the admiral is back and dinner must be richer. We have been busy for a while, and now we are sitting at the dining table. In fact, quite a long time has passed. However, even after a long time, Chongqing was still particularly sensitive to the subconscious words Mother Zipai when he reunited with Sugu. As soon as he caught Sugu looking at him, he immediately suspected that he was being stared at with strange eyes and became shy. As soon as he saw Sugu smile, he immediately suspected that he was being laughed at. However, Sugu did find it a little funny. He had been thinking about what kind of character Chongqing had along the way. The vertical painting of the lady holding an umbrella in Chongqing in the game gave people a gentle and generous image. However, with a few words when they met, the gentle and generous image immediately collapsed in his mind, but became much more cute. I really want to ask who taught this, but I am afraid to say it, and the girl with a blushing face might really know how to kill someone. Thinking about the history and memory of the ship girl awakening from the steel, the crew of the Chongqing probably thought that if Chongqing became a girl, she would definitely like to say the chairman's favorite spoken words, and then the scene just happened. In fact, speaking of Chongqing, in history, some officers and soldiers launched an uprising and changed flags to join the People's Liberation Army. In fact, it should be said that it was the Communist Army. Think about the vertical painting again. The sky above the umbrella is blue and the sun is white, but underneath the umbrella is red. The sky and the sun are disguised. Thinking in his mind, Sugu held a large piece of fish with his chopsticks. Seeing Chongqing's blushing face, he still felt that he should restrain himself a little, and said against his will, "I'm really not smiling, I found that your cooking skills are really good." Chongqing's craftsmanship, the one-pot casserole of sea bass for dinner tastes quite good. The fish is delicious, and the thick soup tastes even better when mixed with rice. All in all, compared to London and Counterattack, her skills are much better, delivering food instead of poisoning. There are also people who teach them, but London and Counterattack cannot be taught no matter how they are taught. Chongqing just changed from a British ship to a fishery administration ship. After a little training under Yuxian's hands, she immediately became a great chef. After thinking about it, we can probably conclude that indeed all British ships are cursed. It turned out that he was still a little shy. After hearing the praise from the admiral, Chongqing said, "I have worked hard for a long time." Sugu saw Chongqing, who was smiling proudly, and he suddenly wanted to bully him. Bullying his own ship girl has always been his favorite thing to do, and it is quite unscrupulous. While grabbing the rice, advisor Su said, "Chongqing, I heard Yuxian say that you are now very familiar with Eastern culture and etiquette." Chongqing nodded, "Yes, I have learned a lot from Sister Yuxian. I can already use chopsticks." Sugu showed a slightly malicious smile, "You are so powerful, how about I test you?" Chongqing worried and said, "Why are you testing me?" Before Sugu could get excited, Ping Hai, the most energetic person, spoke up, "Sister Chongqing is not good at it. If you test her, Admiral, she will definitely not be able to answer the question. Why don't I understand, when someone looks down on you, of course you have to refute." However, after saying this, Chongqing still showed a worried expression, "Don't ask too profound questions." Sugu said, "It's very simple. I just test people, not make things difficult for them." Then ask. "I want to ask about the 24 solar terms, but come to think of it, I don't even know this. It's just the summer solstice, the beginning of autumn, etc., so I shouldn't embarrass Chongqing too much." After thinking for a moment, Sugu suddenly remembered the pictures he had seen on the internet before and modified them a little. He said, "Chongqing, let me tell you a suspenseful story. On the second day of the Lantern Festival, the farmer Lao Ma died. The police immediately came to check the scene and immediately arrested Lao Ma's nephew Xiao Ming, who was watching outside. but Lao Ma's wife witnessed the whole accident. She said that Lao Ma was only there for the second time. He accidentally fell to the first floor and hit his head. However, the police only said one sentence and immediately proved that Xiaoming was the murderer. There were a lot of broken hair on Xiaoming's shoulders. Chongqing, how did the police discover that Xiaoming was the murderer? Chongqing was confused and whispered, Xiaoming must have pushed the old horse from behind, and then the old horse fell. The fish skin tasted the best, so Sugu took a lot of it, and then Yuxian took a lot of it for him. He said while eating, I told you, Lao Ma's wife saw Lao Ma miss the mark, not someone pushing Lao Ma. Holding the bowl in his hand and biting the chopsticks, Chongqing asked, it's strange, what does this have to do with Chinese culture? Sugu said, it does matter, it definitely does. Chongqing racked his brains and thought for a long time, but couldn't think of an answer. Then what's your reason? The shaking of his head made Chongqing unhappy, so Sugu said, let me give you a hint, the Lantern Festival is still the first month of the year. Yet Chongqing responded with a confused expression. I've already said this, but you still don't understand. I'll remind you a little more. Xiaoming is Lao Ma's nephew, and Lao Ma is Xiaoming's uncle. There are pieces of hair on the shoulders, which means Xiaoming just had his hair cut. Well, that's it, don't tell me that I don't understand. It's not a big deal to cut your hair. Sugu showed regret and took a mouthful of rice. Chongqing, you said you are familiar with Chinese culture, but you don't know, my uncle died after having his head shaved in the first month. For a moment, Yuxian put the back of her hand in front of her mouth. Chongqing was stunned for a moment. She grinded her teeth and patted the table gently. She said, Admiral, what are you talking about? Sugu said, ask Yuxian if there is such a saying. Chongqing looked at Yuxian, and Yuxian nodded. She looked in disbelief that this could happen. She paused and said, even if there is such a statement, it is superstitious and nonsense. And it is a brain teaser. Only Ping Hai likes this. This is not a test at all. Only a ghost can answer it. Don't admit defeat. Sugu tapped his fingers on the table, then I'll ask another question. This time it's not a brain twister. Is it okay for reading comprehension? Chongqing still has some confidence in herself and will study hard from now on. She nodded, you tell me. Xiao Zhao gave a gift to the leader. He first said, it's not meaningful at all. The leader said with anger, what do you mean by this? Xiao Zhao said, it just meant it. The leader said, it's not meaningful enough. Xiao Zhao quickly took out another gift. I'm really sorry, he said. The leader accepted the gift and said, I'm sorry Chongqing, what do these mean? Chongqing's expression suddenly turned ugly, I don't know. Sugu spread his hands and said, you thought you were very powerful, but now it seems like this. There is no way. I will ask one last question. This question is really simple. Bismarck defeated the Prince of Wales, and Bismarck defeated the Prince of Wales. Did Bismarck win or lose? Snapped. Chongqing immediately put down the bowl, and this time he was really angry and said, Admiral, you are just trying to embarrass me. Chongqing, Niangzipai. It was very interesting to bully Chongqing. Talking and eating like this ended the dinner quickly. Yuxian cleared the table, and then everyone sat in the living room talking again. The night passed quickly. I have to say that compared to Mu Cheng's house, there are some disadvantages here. For example, there is no Fletcher to sleep with at night. Although you can't use your hands or feet, it would be best if you have a beautiful girl accompanying you. But there are also good points. The apartment only has 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, and Fletcher is with Ning Hai and Ping Hai. Yuxian asked Sugu to stay. She would not be generous to others. She gave her room to Sugu and slept with Chongqing at night. Sugu wouldn't do anything obscenely when sleeping in Yuxian's room, but sleeping in the bedding still made people feel uneasy. Was it considered that the two of them slept indirectly? It was time to start making preparations to return to the governor's mansion. After breakfast the next day, Yuxian was dressed smartly and had to deal with matters related to the tea house and employees. A wife was still a wife, but her aura of a widow gradually lost a lot. Yuxian, let me go too. We can't let anyone be bullied. As long as you come back, Admiral, Yuxian will no longer be bullied. No one can bully Yuxian anymore. I wanted to go with them, but Yuxian asked me to accompany Ningai, Pinghai, Chongqing, and Fletcher. Until noon, everyone walked around the whole town and ate all the delicious snacks from each store, such as osmanthus sugar, crisp sugar, red bean stuffed green dumplings, mugwort green dumplings. We also bought a lot of handicrafts, including round fans, bracelet, round mirror. Sugu suddenly realized that instead of accompanying everyone was clearly accompanying him and taking him around. He raised this doubt, and then heard Chongqing's generous answer, Sister Yuxian told me last night that the Admiral has been in the guardhouse, and he must have finally come out. We want to take the Admiral around for fun. Sugu said, you are all like this, and it's the same in the town hall. Everyone is rushing to finish the work. I didn't have a hard time to go out. In order to find you all this year, I traveled to many places, all places I've gone to see them all. I said I was looking for someone, and I also took a look at the scenery along the way. It won't take long anyway. Yuxian, Chongqing, I'm really ashamed of you for doing this. Now that you know the shame, Sister Yuxian, it's really hard for her. Admiral, you must never let her down again. Of course, I will definitely do it if you need it. Different from the warm smile that always hangs on her face, and different from the image of a gentle lady, Chongqing has a cute and naughty side. She said, Sister Yuxian is a woman, and the best gift a man can give a woman. Hearing this, Sugu's heart skipped a beat. No way. Chongqing continued, the best gift a man can give a woman, a child. Sugu looked at Chongqing, pursed his lips, laughed, and said, you are going to die. He has already come out, and there is no way to accompany Yuxian. After walking around the town, the last few people sat on the stone benches by the roadside to rest. Pinghai and Ninghai broke snacks to feed the fish, while Fletcher looked at the hanging willow leaves and wondered what he was thinking. Sugu looked at the green river and asked curiously, by the way, do you still call me Sister Linxian in Chongqing? Even if it becomes Chongqing, I don't dare to forget the past. Sister Linxian is still Sister Linxian. Is the Prince of Wales the eldest sister, or the eldest sister Yuxian? Chongqing snickered, the Prince of Wales is not a big sister. As she spoke, she thought that even though she was called Sister Yuxian, in terms of strength, she was not inferior to Yuxian. Even if he dares not forget his days as a British warship, the Prince of Wales is not the eldest sister anyway. The eldest sister should be Hood, but Hood is stuffed with cats, so he loses his status. Otherwise, reputation, but the cool reputation is only willing to be the head maid. The lion is very powerful, but she is a junior among juniors. Thinking to herself, she fell into melancholy. If it were still a British ship, it seemed that it would be best for the Prince of Wales to be the eldest sister. Sugu asked again, by the way, do you know Changchun? I don't know, what about Changchun? We don't have Changchun. Sugu said, it seems that you don't know anymore. Xiaozai said that Guanggang will travel to the east and wants to change her name to Changchun. I think she will probably grow up like you. The Dawn Goddess will become Chongqing, and the Guanggang will become Changchun. No, since it has become Changchun, I guess I am with you. Guanggang didn't follow us, she left alone. Well, even if she turned into Changchun, she wouldn't appear next to us in the vast sea of people. You are both fishermen, so you should meet. After all, it's fate. Compared to Changchun and us, the relationship between the Admiral and us is deeper. Sugu nodded, of course we are destined, so didn't we meet? Until evening, everyone returned home and saw that Yuxian had already gone home. Consultant Su, has everything been done? It's taken care of, but I must have lost a lot. For example, I can't get back the deposit for the tea house, and I've lost a lot on the rent. For example, I didn't sell the furniture in the tea house at a low price, but gave it to everyone as compensation. Sitting aside, Sugu listened to Yuxian telling what happened one day one by one. He was so ashamed that he never paid attention, but then he saw Yuxian sitting elegantly, with his legs together and parallel, and his hands intertwined on his legs. I have to say, Yuxian's legs are really slender. The leg fairy, is indeed well deserved. If possible, I would lick people until they break their bones. Sugu laughed a little and thought to himself, no, this is such a perverted idea, and I haven't given him the ring yet. Think about it again, Yuxian, this is a fishery administration ship. From a sentimental point of view, it is natural that I should give him a ring. Marry another? At the same time, Yuxian was talking, and she keenly noticed that Sugu was staring at her legs. Of course she was very aware of the charm of her legs, so she became a little uneasy and slightly shy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 560. New Year's Eve is getting closer and closer, and time is getting tighter. New Year's Eve is, well, special for her. Regardless of any holiday, my sister wants to go out and play, and she knows that the holiday is here. New Year's Eve is not that deeply felt by most of the ship girls in the town hall. However, this festival is the most important of the year in the minds of Sugu and the fishery administration boat. He had to leave and pack his things. Sugu saw Chungqing closing the rattan box and asked, "Do you only have these things?" In fact, apart from a few small boxes, there were only woven bags in the apartment at the beginning. No matter how you think about it, a beautiful woman with outstanding temperament holding a woven bag is too dramatic. There was no other way, Sugu had no choice but to buy more. It's just that in this small town, you can't buy all kinds of things as in a big city. Even if you can't buy trolley cases and suitcases in the biggest stores, I finally bought a few rattan cases. Chungqing picked up the wicker chair and took 2 steps in the living room. She said, "There are only these, clothes, books, photos, alarm clocks, the jade pendant I bought before, anyway, a lot of messy things." Sugu thought of leaving school after graduating from college. Apart from a few important books, he only had a large box of clothes, and of course, the biggest object, a computer. Here, everyone obviously does not have a computer, and the only high-tech thing is a radio. Thinking of this, he thought of what happened early in the morning and said, the waiters in the morning were really amazing. Yuxian said, "It's not easy for them, especially since Sister Lu divorced her husband and is raising her daughter alone. I definitely won't bring pots and pans, nor large bedding." Not planning to leave it to the landlord, Yuxian called a waiter named Sister Lu who had a relatively difficult life among the waiters in the morning, and gave away all the clothes, quilts, and furniture. Now, as an admiral, he is considered an upper-class person and is not short of money. Sugu still remembers that he just came to this world, and the living conditions where he lived can be said to be miserable. Life for people at the bottom has never been that easy. Quilts like these that have been used by others are still good things for many people. I have to say that the waiter was quite honest and would not refuse anyone who came. And the sewing machine, which is quite powerful, relatively expensive, and heavy, can be carried away by one person. Looking around and seeing everyone packing their things, Sugu said, "Pack it up, let's go." In fact, we started cleaning up in the evening, and this is the second day. I have dealt with some things and done some finishing work, and have finished everything before noon. Then everyone left the apartment and walked past the tea house again. Yuxian stopped in front of the tea house. As a ship girl, the most important thing is feelings. I said goodbye to the place that I have been running for a long time, but I still have some memories. Standing in front of the door and seeing many people talking around him, Shungqing pointed out a person to Sugu and said, "That person used to think that we were all weak women and came here to bully us." Even in the quaint Jiangnan water town, not everyone is as gentle as water, there are also shrews. Putting the rattan box on the ground, Sugu rolled up his sleeves and said, "Do you need the admiral to help you get revenge? Forget it. As a ship's wife, she is not so arrogant about revenge." After a pause, Shungqing showed a gentle smile and said, "Admiral, how do you want to take revenge?" Sugu said fiercely, "Kill people and set fire. Became a criminal. I can only slap him." Sugu pinched his chin. He actually knew that Shungqing would not let him do this. "Sure enough," Shungqing said, "don't you think it's too embarrassing?" Sugu heard from Ping Hai that many people like to gossip, especially to Yuxian. "Think about it, it's too much, but it's not to the point of destroying people's homes, limbs. Now if you come here to scold someone, or make trouble in front of others, I don't mind giving you a backhand slap. Since I haven't done anything yet, it seems like there's nothing much that can be done." After not standing for long, Yuxian smiled at Sugu and said, "Let's go." When we left the town and reached the roadside, there was no car, so we had to wait for the shuttle bus that ran several times a day. I finally waited for the shuttle bus to arrive. The speed was much slower than driving by myself, and it took a long time to get to the city. Once we got to the city, everything was easier. We hailed a taxi and went to Mucheng's home first. Even if you make up your mind to leave today, everything you do has a beginning and an end, and you should at least say hello when you leave. Although it wasn't anything valuable, the tea house was no longer open and there were a lot of snacks and tea left. I didn't give them all away, so I picked some and packed them to give to Mucheng. In fact, I planned to give it all to Mucheng, but seeing that Qin Kai and Kiri's Hima were still there, I could only give it to 2 people. However, at noon, Mucheng immediately turned his back upon accepting the snack and refused to acknowledge anyone else. He asked Sugu, "Tell me, what happened to you and Yuxian at night these 2 days?" "Nothing happened." Yuxian and Lexian were of course great, but they were not given rings, so there was no exciting development after all. That's good." While talking, Mucheng was relieved, but a moment later he suddenly noticed the beautiful ship girl Sugu had never seen before. "Who is it?" "Light cruiser Chungqing, my ship's wife. I want to kill someone, is that okay?" Mucheng liked to joke, but Sugu didn't like joking about his wife and other men. "But it's okay to make fun of yourself." He said, "Kill him, I am a single man." "You still have the nerve to call yourself a bachelor, for a guy like you." Qin Kai said, "I knew about his virtue early on. Although I was quite curious about the wandering ship girl, I decided not to go because I didn't want to see the hateful faces of Europeans. Yesterday, no, the day before yesterday I took Kiri's Hima around the city. Circle, I ate squirrel mandarin fish for lunch, and it tasted really good. I just don't dare to eat puffer fish, although I heard it's delicious, but I'm always worried about not handling it well." Mucheng turned around and said, "Qin Kai, shut up, you won't be much better. I have seen through you. You always take Kiri's Hima with you, you want to gain a good impression and then get married." Li Yu said from the side, "I marry whoever I want all day long, but suddenly I feel that you are really depraved as an admiral." Mucheng said nonchalantly, "I don't, it's just the 2 of them, pests, scum, shameless, especially Mr. Su, who is particularly depraved." Li Yu said, a female admiral is the best. The female admiral is not much better. While talking, Sugu thought to himself that the male admiral was too perverted. Just recalling the female admiral he knew, Yujin was not much better. She was married to Bai Shui's female Lily. Originally, the governor of the town had succeeded to the post of admiral. I thought of the magical message on the wishing wall, and later went to investigate who the incoming admiral was. It was said that she was a female admiral. I know so many people, and among the more familiar admirals, Lu Jianshu is probably a pretty good and honest admiral. The most reliable one is the senior Admiral Chen Nan. Apart from his wife, there is no one in the marriage ship who has the most upright style. After chatting for a while, Sugu was about to leave. When he saw Qin Kai leaning on the sofa without any figure, he asked, "Aren't you ready to return to the guard house? The admiral of the garrison next door to me is not an Oriental and has no interest in New Year's Eve." I asked him to pay more attention to the sea area I am responsible for. I decided to take my ship girl home to celebrate the new year. So there is no need for me to make preparations. Before New Year's Eve, just rush home. Sugu felt a little sad when he heard this. He probably couldn't go back. I didn't think much of being with my family before. I mostly played with my mobile phone, but now I realized how much I missed it. But after all, it had been so long, and the sadness didn't last long. After saying goodbye to several people, Sugu-shun took a handful of dates and distributed them to everyone before leaving. I rushed to the train station in the afternoon. There were really many people returning to their hometowns at the train station. It took a lot of effort to buy the train tickets. When I got on the train, the seats were not in the same place. Only through Yuxian and Chongqing's gentle request, everyone finally changed positions easily. In short, everyone just filled the two seats facing each other. Pinghai and Ninghai sat by the window, and Sugu and Yuxian sat by the aisle. Nothing happened along the way. Even if the ship girl is beautiful, hooligans and pickups are still in the minority. On the way, Sugu told everyone about the legend of White Snake, a story about the same magical transformation. Only Yuxian heard that something was wrong, and she smiled. 100 years of cultivation have allowed us to cross the same boat, and 1,000 years of cultivation have enabled us to sleep together. The legend of the White Snake is a very poignant love story. Admiral, what did you say? Fletcher complained in his heart that the poignant love story turned into a story about a certain Su Xian fighting monsters, upgrading, exploding equipment, and acquiring girls. It was terrible. The speed of trains in this era is really not fast, only the level of ordinary green trains. It was the next day when they arrived in Fujian City. Then we took a boat to Sichuangziu. It was already dusk when we arrived at Sichuangziu. At this point, there were almost no ships arriving at the county seat next to the governor's office. Sugu was hesitant. Should he let Fletcher return to the governor's office and drive a yacht over, or simply spend the night in Chuangziu? In the end, I decided to spend the night in Chuangziu. Akagi had a dormitory here. Also think about the fact that everyone has been living in such a small town, and I am afraid that they have not fully experienced the prosperity of the city. If you don't have the chance, forget it. If you have the chance, of course you should take a good look around and buy. Go to the college in the evening. The college is basically on vacation now. Formal admirals also need to worry about whether enemies will appear in the sea areas they are responsible for, but new admirals do not. Unexpectedly, or rather not surprisingly, Colossus came to visit. I saw the lights turned on downstairs. I thought someone was coming, so I came over to take a look. You came here again, oh, you changed the girl again, it's really amazing. Hey, I can come to guard you during the Chinese New Year. Are you there? There are no classes in the academy, and the new admirals have all left. It's so boring to stay here. Everyone has something to do, but I have nothing to do. There was no way to refuse the girl's request, but it felt so wonderful that she had no thoughts about Colossus himself. After all, this girl was so eloquent. In the evening, Sugu took everyone to have supper and hot pot again. Looking at the red oil and chili peppers, Consultant Su said, "You are best at hot pot in Chongqing." Chongqing was confused. "No, I don't know much about hot pot." Sugu laughed. "Chongqing doesn't know Chongqing hot pot, haha, New Orleans must be good at grilled chicken wings, and the Lafite must be delicious." As he spoke, he looked at the blonde girl who was cooking mutton. "The Colossus can attack the air." Colossus suddenly became vigilant. She said, "Of course I can fight against the air. My carrier-based aircraft are all fighter jets. Let me tell you, don't take advantage of my carrier-based aircraft." After eating the hot pot, we returned to Akaga's dormitory. There were not many rooms, so we had to make do with sleep at night. When he returned to the governor's mansion at noon the next day and saw Euxian, Lexington frowned in a rare way and then smiled again. "Sister Euxian. Looking for the lost ship girl." Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 561. This was a few days after everyone returned to the garrison. Lexington's left hand was stretched out on the table, his head resting on his smooth jade arm, and his right hand was fiddling with the pen on top of a stack of documents. "Is the Admiral here?" Leipzig walked into the office holding U-47 in one hand. The little girl's hands and feet were limp and hanging down, as if she was dead. In fact, she was more sad than heartbroken. A group of little Lolita didn't learn well and secretly ran to the warehouse to get firecrackers. They were discovered and dispersed, leaving only the slow runner U-47 who was caught. These lawless little guys must be taught a lesson. However, Sugu was nowhere to be seen in the office. Before Lexington, who was the secretary, could speak, Saratoga was sleeping on the sofa and raised his head, waving his hands and saying, "Brother-in-law is not here. He has gone out. He is probably in the cafeteria. Forget it if he's not here. I'll teach him a lesson myself. He only needs to know how to pamper these little guys." Leipzig hugged U-47 and left again. Along the way, he wondered why Lexington, who usually stood tall even if he was not sitting upright, became weak today. She snickered in her heart, maybe she was tortured too much last night. In the past, as Bazai's comic assistant, she still had a dirty side in her heart. "Sister, why don't you speak?" It was rare for Saratoga to see Lexington like this. As a younger sister, she knew why her sister was in such a situation. It was all because of Euxian. She thought to herself, sister, you also have today." While snickering, she still walked to Lexington's side and comforted him, "Sister, what's wrong with you?" Lexington had been thinking from the beginning that he had been snubbed by the Admiral. Well, it wasn't a snub, but it was indeed the first time he had encountered such a situation. The Admiral has been back for several days and unexpectedly brought back a fishery boat. I was very happy at that time. The garrison was one step closer to restoring its original glory. However, it was unimaginable that Euxian, who had never been an opponent in the past and could not even defeat Helena among light cruisers, would actually have such combat effectiveness. As a ship girl, Euxian is very beautiful, a classic beauty with long black hair tied behind her head. She also has a pair of long legs, and her nickname of Leg Fairy is well deserved. Of course, knowing the Admiral's character, he prefers other aspects than his legs, such as the heavy, obscene breasts of the Prince of Wales and Helena. Well, if I really want to say it, it is impossible for a person to just like the same thing. Breast control, butt control, and leg control are never in conflict. But if I really compare my legs, I'm not bad at all. And what can I say, besides himself, the Admiral has 9 wedding ships, followed by Richelieu, Washington, Xianghe, Ziwehe, Raider. There are many people queuing up, In short, I accept this. There is one more, not much. It's just different from others. It's hard to accept that Yuxian and Admiral are so familiar with each other. Not talking about what happened in the past few days, I remembered hearing the two people talking in the morning. Yuxian, you know Journey to the West, right? If I read Journey to the West upside down, the story becomes completely different. The Tathagata sent 4 masters and disciples and the 8 heavenly dragons Zyabei along to the eastern land to preach. They encountered various monsters along the way. After beating them, they found that they all had a backup. Beiji hid in Gaolazhuang, Shamunk got into the Liusho River, only Wukong insisted on justice and killed the demons all the way. Under the plot, the white dragon was seriously injured and fell into the mountain stream. Wukong was defeated. After 500 years, Wukong finally escaped from the Wuzi mountain. He came out without saying a word, turning the heavenly court upside down. The heavenly court was forced to agree to let Zhu Beiji turn into a human body and be named the Tianpeng Marshal, and Shamunk was named the Rolling Curtain General. As long as they could kill Sun Wukong, they were disheartened. Feeling cold, Wukong went to find Patriarch Bodhi to solve his doubts. Then he sealed his cultivation, returned to Huaguo Mountain, and lived an ordinary life with the monkey grandson, and finally turned into a stone on the top of Huaguo Mountain. Well, I've heard Journey to the West myself, and I often hear the Admiral telling little Lolita about it. What I like most is sitting next to each other. It feels like the couple has many children. The husband tells stories to the children, and the wife smiles dotingly next to them. I just came back tomorrow, and I don't understand why Yuxian didn't even finish listening to Journey to the West, as he seemed to know everything. The two of them talked animatedly, discussing who was more powerful, Erlang Shen or Sun Wukong, citing classics. The only thing I couldn't say was that I felt like a complete outsider. This feeling of not being under control was really worrying. While feeling uneasy, Lexington heard voices and glanced at Saratoga. She knew very well what her sister was thinking. The weasel paid New Year greetings to the rooster and was uneasy and kind-hearted. Have you seen yourself being neglected, and have you gone out of your way to see yourself embarrassed? Haha, Jia, mind your own business first. While talking, Lexington decided to do something. Speaking of which, Sugu really likes talking to Yuxian these days. On the one hand, of course, it's because of Yuxian's beauty. Although her figure is not as explosive as that of many people, she has no weaknesses at all, especially her invincible legs. On the other hand, when it comes to the ship girls in the garrison, be it Lexington, Saratoga, or Bismarck, the memories brought by steel have not given them much understanding of Chinese culture. In fact, even though I was on the fishing boat and became a monk in Chongqing, I still didn't understand many things. Ningyi and Heping Hai are just girls, they are not good either. However, Yuxian is different. She understands Eastern culture and history. Just like this, for Sugu, in the recognition of culture, food, and customs, only Yuxian is very compatible and likes to talk together. I remembered that when I was a child, my family always told me that chopsticks should not be inserted into rice, like burning incense. Seeing that it's New Year's Eve, it's our family's custom not to eat dumplings during the New Year. But there must be fish, and there must be no less if there is more every year. And you can't have less pork. I don't know if you know braised pork. It seems that some places call it xiao bai. Also, egg buttons are made by mincing the meat into meat patties, then pouring the mixed flour and eggs on top, and finally frying them. Stuffed dumplings are fried tofu or oily fruit stuffed with meat. Our family doesn't do anything on New Year's Day, haha, it's just a talk. We still have to sweep the floor, but the garbage is poured into the trash can instead of thrown out. Then our family opens a store, and people come to buy things and sell things. Anyway, it's for good luck. You can make money by selling things on New Year's Day, and your business will be prosperous throughout the year. Don't swear or quarrel on New Year's Day, otherwise you'll be unhappy for the whole year. I remember that when I was a kid, I could have received a lot of red envelopes when I went to visit the New Year. But except for the New Year's money given by my parents, all the red envelopes given by others had to be taken away. They said they wanted to repay the gift, and said they would save it for studying in the future, but I couldn't see the money anyway. Euxian, you should have heard of water monkeys. In order to prevent me from swimming in the river, my parents like to scare me with water monkeys. They don't know, but I still go there secretly, and I can swim as soon as I get into the water. I have never encountered a water monkey. When I grew up, I thought it must be an otter. It was all rumors. Speaking of which, there is a bridge over there called Jafang Bridge. Several people die every year, many every year. As usual, they talked a lot that day. When they returned to their room in the evening, Sugu had forgotten about Euxian. He saw Lexington standing by the window, a little different from usual. Lexington's long flaxen hair was tied up and he was wearing a blue peony cheongsam. She already has a tall figure, and the cheongsam shows off her figure best, which is really alluring. Consultant Su, Lexington, why are you wearing a cheongsam? Is it not okay? As she spoke, Lexington took a step forward. Unlike Euxian's porcelain-like delicate long legs, her legs were slender, sexy, and full of vitality. Sugu admitted that he was in control, but Lexington 100% disagreed with what he wanted to do in the past. Suddenly putting on a cheongsam at this time makes people feel a little uneasy. What's going on? Unlike others, he knew very well that Lexington would cause trouble for you. She never liked to keep a straight face. She would often serve you tea with a smile and give you a pat on the back, and then ask you where you were fooling around at night. Sugu panicked and heard Lexington say, "My evil admiral, who likes to have people wear wedding dresses, military uniforms, admiral uniforms, nun outfits, maid outfits, bunny girls, he even bought cheongsams specially for this purpose." While talking, even though the usually capable Lexington actually felt shy, remembering that he had never been able to do such a thing before, he didn't even dare to kiss the admiral. A lot of things happened, and we became an old married couple, so we became a little bolder. No matter how bold he is, he still feels embarrassed to put on a cheongsam to seduce the admiral, but he cannot do otherwise. I should be feeling happy, but I still feel worried subconsciously, thinking that I haven't done anything special. Then he saw Lexington go around to the door, lock the door, turn out the light again, and light the lamp. Sugu became more and more panicked. In the past, no matter what he did, Lexington would basically ask to turn off the lights. Only in the dark would he feel at ease. "Lexington, madam, don't be like this. If you have anything to say, just say it." Before he finished speaking, Sugu felt Lexington wrap his arms around him and said, "Admiral, I think." And then, what happened next was natural. I had to say then Sugu lay on the bed and didn't want to move. Lexington held the side of his face with one hand on the bed and said, "If the admiral likes Sister Wen Yuxian, he can give her a ring. Lexington has no objection." Sugu's heart skipped a beat. It really wasn't that simple. Thinking about what happened between him and Yuxian, he still felt guilty. "I didn't say I wanted to give Yuxian a ring. It doesn't matter. The admiral can marry whomever he wants. If the admiral is embarrassed, then leave it to Lexington. Lexington can help tell Yuxian." "No, I have no idea. To be honest, I definitely have ideas. Not to mention Yuxian, I have ideas for everyone." But compared to Yuxian, Richelieu's intentions were already clear, and Ruhi's intentions were even clearer. None of these people gave him a ring, so he still felt embarrassed to give it to Yuxian directly. But it seems that the admiral likes it very much. Suddenly thinking of something, Sugu said, "Are you jealous?" Lexington said generously, I'm jealous, seeing you and her so happy. Sugu hugged Lexington and said, there's no need to be jealous, Yuxian is very beautiful, I like it very much. And I'm an Oriental, and unlike Akagakaga, Yuxian is a fisherman, so I feel very close. But no matter how close we are, we have become husband and wife very early, and we have experienced a lot together and have many memories. These things are things that Yuxian does not have. In the end, you are my eldest wife and eldest wife. Real. Real. But I'm still worried. The Admiral should marry Yuxian, Lexington thought to himself. Being a reasonable wife makes a man feel guilty. No matter how mistress he is, he can never challenge his status as the head wife. And it is very clear that a man will have no ideas until he gets a woman, otherwise the less he gets, the more he will feel itchy and miserable. Not knowing what Lexington was thinking, Sugu said, Madam, I know you are the best, so you can rest assured. Don't worry, if you want me to feel reassured, do it again. One night passed, and Lexington woke up in the morning in high spirits and met Saratoga on the corridor. Gia, keep up the good work. Sister. Saratoga felt inexplicably uneasy.